There will now be a silent prayer and meditation. May we be seated. Angizuphendula. Benginika isikhathi esanele ukuze nenze nomkhuleko nifike naku amen. Order, honorable members, we now come to an opportunity for members to make their notices of motion. Does any member wish to give notice of motion? Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates means geared at finding long-term solution to the challenges facing funding for post-school education. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kubisa.
House Chairperson, at the next sitting day of this House, I shall move on behalf of the NFP that this House debates the spate and high incidence of service delivery protests across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable member.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the increasing scourge of corruption, particularly in Gauteng, which according to a report released by Corruption Watch yesterday has the highest levels of corruption in South Africa.
Thank you, NFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. On behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move that its next sitting, this Honorable House debates the exploitation of sex workers by police officers. I so move.
Thank you, honorable member of the ANC.
Honorable Chair, I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that in the next sitting, the House debate the strengthening of support to the struggle of the national self-determination and the multilateral approach to the management of global issues. I so move.
Thank you, honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the link between this government's failure to provide economic policy coherence and our country's low growth rate and high unemployment rate. I so move.
Thank you, honorable member of the EFF. Yes.
Thanks, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of EFF that in its next sitting, the House debate the misuse and misdirection of 15% of MIG money meant for sports by municipalities. I so move.
Thank you, honorable member.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that this House in its next sitting debate the human rights in the context of building a national democratic society underpinned on the vision of a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. NFP.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. On behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move that at its next sitting, this Honorable House deliberates on the challenges faced by thousands of women as a result of errant fathers failing and or refusing to pay maintenance, exploiting weaknesses in the system. I so move.
Honorable member.
I thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that in its next sitting, the House debates strengthening the call for the reform of the multilateral institutions, such as the UN Security Council, to give greater voice to developing nations and reflect a more just and equitable world order. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member.
I hereby move on behalf of the African National Congress that in its next sitting, the House debates the reduction of provinces from 9 to 3 in order to save money to redress the evil of racism, tribalism, and regionalism, as well as to promote social cohesion. Maybe KZN, Free State, and Mpumalanga could match. Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Northern Cape could match with Northwest, and Limpopo match with Gauteng. I so move.
Does any member wish to give a motion, honorable member? I can see members are baffled. They are all looking surprised. Honorable member.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the Ministerial Task Team's report into the failing state of the Health Professions Council of South Africa and the devastating impact that this dysfunction has had on health service delivery in our country.
Thank you. Is there any other member who still wishes to give a notice of motion? Honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the ANC failure to spend R500 million on much-needed new schools in the Eastern Cape.
Does any member wish to give a notice of motion? I think we now move to the next set of motion, which is motions without notice. NFP, ANC, GA.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. On behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move without notice that this Honorable House notes that on Wednesday, the 9th of March, Western Cape Police arrested 4 suspects, 2 men aged 21 and 39, and 2 females aged 41 and 48, on charges of dealing in drugs in Muizenberg. And also notes that the arrests were made after the Western Cape Flying Squad reacted to information from a reliable source about drugs being transported from Johannesburg to Cape Town. And finally notes that tick, valued at 8,400 rand, and Mandrax worth 1.5 million was confiscated. Wherefore, we call about this Honorable House to congratulate the Western Cape Police for their diligence and swift action to prevent the drugs from reaching the streets, and encourage the South African police nationwide to continue their relentless quest to rid our country from the scourge of drugs. I so move.
Is there any objections? If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objection, agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you, Honorable the House Chair. On behalf of the ANC, I move without notice that the House notes and it feels vindicated by the recent findings made by the South African Human Rights Commission that sanitation in the city of Cape Town is inadequate. An investigation by the Commission confirms that the city of Cape Town has failed to provide decent sanitation to the people living in an informal settlement. 2 weeks ago, members of the Commission in the company of the Social Justice Coalition visited Khayelitsha and witnessed how people depend on portable toilets, which are not regularly cleaned. The people of Khayelitsha told the Commission that they have been subjected to such conditions in the city that is controlled by the DA, which has failed to come up with a proper planning to address sanitation issues. This is a clear evidence of failure to deliver decent basic services to the poor communities in the Western Cape and the DA administration. The DA government has failed to prioritize community development imperatives instead of maintaining white middle class and privileged and interest. We believe strongly that it indeed a myth that Western Cape is the best run province in the country, and we are determined to outset them in the city of Cape Town. I thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objection.
We object most vehemently.
You were very late in objecting. Thank you very much. No, we don't do that. IFP.
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the IFP, I hereby move without notice that the House recognize World Kidney Day on the 10th of March, and that the theme for 2016 is Kidney Disease and Children, Act Early to Prevent It, acknowledges that the purpose of World Kidney Day is to raise awareness of the importance of our kidneys to our overall health and to reduce the frequency and impact of kidney disease and its associated health problems worldwide. Further acknowledges that the objectives are to raise awareness about our kidneys, highlight that diabetes and high blood pressure are key factors of chronic kidney disease, or CKD, encourage preventive behaviors, educate all medical professionals about their key role in detecting and reducing the risk of CKD, particularly in high-risk populations, and stress the important role of local and national health authorities in controlling the CKD epidemic. Hereby calls on all health authorities nationwide to make certain that they spread awareness of the dangers of the silent killers such as these, and to take action to invest in further kidney screening. I so move. Thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. ANC.
Honorable House Chair.
Thank you.
Yes.
The African National Congress moves without notice that the House congratulates the Independent Electoral Commission on the spectacular success of the voter registration drive last weekend. Notes that according to IEC, there were 693,000 new registrations, and of this, approximately 79% were under the age of 30. Further notes that according to figures provided, approximately 3 million South Africans visited voter registration stations around the country. Acknowledges that the overwhelming turnout is evidence that the people of South Africa heeded the call that local government is in their hands, and through registering to vote, they will advance the people's power, and congratulates the IEC on the job well done. So I move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
The EFF objects.
Motion falls away. The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I move without notice that this House extends its deepest and heartfelt condolences to the Bluglegger family following the sudden tragic loss of their daughter Francesca in Tukay on Monday, 7 March 2016. Notes that the Constantia Waldorf school learner went jogging with her mother and a younger sister in the Tukay forest on Monday afternoon, where she was attacked and brutally murdered. Further notes that the young girl, whose life was cut short on the afternoon of 7 March 2016, has been remembered by all those who knew her as a kind and loving person who contributed hugely to the social fabric of her school. Expresses its deepest concern with the ever-growing levels of violent crime in South Africa, which robs families of their loved ones on a daily basis and has left many South Africans living in a perpetual state of fear. Appreciates the efforts made by the South African police services, which has already led to the arrest of 3 people in connection with this heinous murder, and calls for the harshest sentences possible to be imposed for those found guilty of this crime, and thanks all South African citizens who have shown solidarity with the family, knowing that our citizens must unite against crime. I thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. EFF.
I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House note that hawkers from Aidutwa were removed from facilities that they were conducting their trade as self-employed small business people. Note that when hawkers were removed, Mpashe municipality failed to provide alternative facilities for them to sell their fruits and vegetables. Acknowledges that most, if not all, workers depend entirely on their trade to feed their families, send their children to school, and look after their families. Further acknowledges that without their trade, there are children who are going to bed hungry It is only municipalities under the leadership of the EFF that will build proper, clean and decent infrastructure for hawkers to conduct their trade and feed their families. We call on Bashem municipality to treat hawkers from Aidutwa with dignity and respect, as they are only out to try and put food on the table to feed their own families. Further call on the municipality to provide decent alternative infrastructure where hawkers will be able to conduct their trade. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
We object, Chair.
Motion falls away. ANC.
Honorable Chair, I move on behalf of the ANC for this House to note with great sadness the death of 4 Mukwena family members who died during a house fire in Sebokeng Zone 14 in the early hours of Saturday morning, the 5th of March 2016. Further notes that 3 family members died inside the burning house, whilst a baby was rescued from the burning house and rushed to the nearby hospital, succumbed to his wounds, and passed on the following day. Believes that this is somewhat incomprehensible to see an entire family with a little baby dying in such a horrific circumstances. Supports the police investigation to ascertain the cause of the fire and express its heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of the victims of Sebokeng house fire. I so move, Honorable Chair.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. There being no objections, the motion is agreed to. Democratic Alliance, followed by the EFF and then NFP.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that this month marks the 30th anniversary of the Winterveld massacre, recalls that people of Winterveld suffered endless harassment at the hands of the Bophuthatswana government due to their differing ethnicities, remembers that on 26 March 1986, approximately 10,000 unarmed people gathered at the City Rocks soccer field in Winterveld to express their grievances with the Bophuthatswana government. Also remembers that the Bophuthatswana police opened fire on the crowd, killing 11 people, injuring 200, and detaining more than 1,000 people who were charged with public violence or illegal gathering. Finally, remembers that this tragedy made international and national headlines, shocked and caught the attention of the international community, and ultimately helped pave the way for UN sanctions against the apartheid government. Therefore, commemorates the senseless death of the 11 members of the community and calls on government to commemorate this tragedy by erecting a fitting memorial in the spirit of reconciliation and redress. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to move without notice that the House, 1, notes the questionable acts by the IEC which could potentially undermine its integrity and as a result the integrity of the upcoming local government elections. Further notes that in West Rand region, Mogale City Municipality, at the Munsonville Township, Ward 27, voting district number 332-50564, with presiding officer Mr. Shabalala, an ANC leader, had set up a voting registration point in his own house. 3, acknowledges that many other incidents of irregularities have been reported. In Northwest Bojanala region, Ward 16, an ANC leader's home was used as a voter registration venue. In the Northern Cape, IEC presiding officer allowed people wearing ANC regalia to bring more than one ID. 4, further acknowledges that in the Eastern Cape, Chris Hani region, registration material was not enough, only later to be found dumped. 5, calls on the IEC to conduct themselves in according to the prescripts of the Electoral Act and advise them that it will not be wise to put in jeopardy the integrity of the IEC simply because they are scared that the ANC will lose votes. 6, further calls on all party agents from all political parties to be vigilant and report the thieving that the ANC plans to do in the upcoming elections. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
We object. We object.
The ANC objects.
No. Motion falls away. The NFP.
House Chairperson, on behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move without notice that this House knows that 3 teenage boys aged between 16 and 18 were killed after a buggy and a bus collided at Mlalazi Bridge on the R66 near Eshowe this morning. Also note that the 2 other vehicles were also involved in the accident in a rainy weather. Further notes that 11 children have been admitted to a hospital at Eshowe having sustained injuries during the collision, of which 1 is in a serious condition. Wherefore, we call upon this honorable House to extend its heartfelt condolences to the family and the loved ones of those who died so tragically in this accident. Wish the children who were hurt in the accident a speedy and a full recovery from their injuries. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Democratic Alliance?
Thanks, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that the South African national women's cricket team won their first ever T20 series against the West Indies this week. Congratulates the team for this historic victory, commends Cricket South Africa and Momentum for their support for women's cricket team and setting up a professional structure for domestic women's cricket, and wishes the team well for the upcoming T20 World Cup in India. I so move.
Kungabe ukhona ophikisana nalesi sincomo? Akakho, siyavuma sonke. Ngitocela make Khawula Nyalo kube nguye losiniketa sincomo sakhe. Musani kumphazamisa. Nkosi yami.
Banomona ngoba hayi cha ngiyasishaya izulu ngizovula isikole sabo. Ngibonge lapho ngaphambili isihlalo. CEFF la sithi ngeke sivume kudlalwe ngegeja kuziliwe. Lento inzima kakhulu. Ayiqali lapha ngikhuluma ngalento njalo yokucwasacwasana. Ayiqali lapha yophela mase kubuyiswe umhlaba kubanikazi bawo owathathwa ngendluzula amabhunu. Akukho soka ladla kamnandi imbangi ikhala. Bahlupheka abantu abamnyama ngokwezindlu abahlala kuzona, ngokwemfuyo yabo, ngokwamanzi abawasweleyo. Baze bayodliwa izingwenya emfuleni. Beyokha amanzi ematubatuba ngakini njalo lapho ulalele kahle sihlalo. Ingane zabantu abamnyama zihamba amabanga amade ziya ezikoleni zivika izigebengu. Kanjalo noma beye emtholampilo bahamba amabanga amade. Kanjalo beya emaphoyiseni mhlambe bakwenziwe lento okuthiwa urape ngesingisi. Azikho izinsiza endaweni la kuhlala khona abantu, ngisho umuntu kuthiwa ushonelwe imbala. Kunenkinga enkulu yokuthi umzimba wakhe masefuna kuye ekhaya akwazi uzothwala kanjani. Imigwaqo engenayo ezosazomsiza nje egula ayikho. Okugcina ekufunani kuzwe la. Akulula kumuntu omnyama ngoba kufanele babuyiselwe zonke izinto ezantshontshwa amabhunu kubantu. Namakhosi, khona amakhosi abulawa ayelwela okhanda mpondo. Nodomphasi ngicela ningilalele.
Sisongeke manje.
Yebo siyangakhona ekusongeni. Lawo makhosi igazi lawo lisakhala namanje ngoba akaze kukhulunywe ngawo. Lawa athathwa ahanjiswa aboshwa ngozankosi ezandleni, aboshwa ngamaketango enyaweni angcwatshwa ngazo. Laba bantu kuyimanje abakaze kukhulunywa ngabo la ukuthi bayaqaqwa nini lawo makitango ukuze kuqaqeke abantu abamnyama.
Asisonke,
And
ma.
siyocela ukuthi ke laba ababenza lokho ngobandlululo bahambe baguqe esizweni sabantu abamnyama ngaba besutha makhaladi bonke ababezisulu zalolo bandlululo bahambe bayohlawula ngezinkomo.
Songa-ke,
Ngiyabonga.
ma. If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to.
DA object.
Motion falls away. I would ask the officials that are translating, I know it might be difficult sometimes to translate idioms and sayings. It's important for them to keep up with the speaker so that everybody in the house can hear. Ngitawucela lilunga le-UDM, Mage.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I move on behalf of United Democratic Movement that the House notes that on the 9th of March 2016, a 16-year-old Indian girl who was raped and set on fire on the roof of her home has passed away. Further notes that the teenager sustained more than 90% burns on the day of the attack. Recalls that a similar incident occurred on a bus in New Delhi in 2012, where a student was brutally gang raped. Further recalls that on celebrating Human Rights Day on the 21st of March, may we continue to advocate for the protection of women and children. Condemn this human rights violation with the contempt it deserves. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that the 24th of March is globally recognized as World Tuberculosis Day, that TB is one of the most complex and most devastating public health challenges affecting our continent and our country, that all of us have been affected either directly or indirectly by this epidemic, calls on government to redouble its fight against the disease, and calls on all South Africans to work towards the achievable goal of eradicating TB in our country once and for all. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. Honorable Shandu.
On behalf of the EFF, I rise without notice to note that the Financial Times, the most
Order.
influential and arguably the most trusted financial reporting journal, published an article about the Zuptas and their shenanigans. Note that the article quoted David Lewis, head of Corruption Watch in South Africa, saying, the Zuptas' businesses are difficult to pin down. Further note that Lewis continues to say, the Zuptas' sole competitive advantage seems to be their closeness to political leadership, notably President Zuma. Acknowledges that a former senior state official, former head of intelligence, during his tenure, ordered the investigation and the analysis of how the Guptas operated in South Africa, of which we now know that within days after that request, he was officially fired from his job. Further acknowledges that the chief of intelligence continues to make string allegations about a series of activities that were illegal in nature that continued during his tenure. Recognizes even more recently the Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Jonas. He himself was approached days before the firing of Honorable Nene, approached by the same family to check if he was willing to take up the position of Finance Minister. We take the opportunity to warn the ANC to cleanse itself of this demonic tendency of allowing our country to be run by a corrupt family. We further note that the ANC seems to have an unlimited manner in which it deals with most of these allegations. Most of them are left unattended, uncleared, and never resolved, which leaves South Africans with a belief that there is something happening between this family and the ANC. We call on South Africa to stay on their televisions on the day when the Constitutional Court produces the judgment, because on that day, the South Africans will know that at least in South Africa, we still have the law on our side. The law that will vehemently at least explain the activities of the Zupta and all its corrupt activities. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Objection, Chair.
Motion falls away. The ANC.
Honorable Chairperson, I move without notice for the House to note with sadness the death of 10 people, including a baby, and an injury of at least 60 others when a bus overturned on the R528 at Mahubas Kloof, Limpopo on Sunday, the 6th March 2016. Understand that the paramedics arrived on the scene. They found that the injuries that were sustained ranged from minor to critical. Acknowledges that the bus was on its way to Palaburwa from the holy city of Moria when the accident happened. Calls on the relevant authorities to investigate the cause of the accident and that justice takes its part if any negligence is found, and conveys condolences to the families of the deceased and wishing them speedy recovery, or wishing speedy recovery to all the injured passengers. I thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to IFP.
Ngiyathokoza, Sihlalo. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the IFP that the House recognizes the National Water Week marked on 17 to 23 of March of this year. Further recognizes that World Water Day is marked on March 22 of this year, which coincides with the National Water Week as stated above. Acknowledges that these are powerful awareness campaign mechanisms that reiterate the value of water and the need for sustainable management of this scarce resource. Further acknowledges that there is a global water demand for manufacturing and that water and energy are inseparable, in that water is required to generate energy and that energy is required to deliver water. Considering our current energy challenge, perhaps being mindful of this relationship may prove to be more useful in the long run. Calls upon all South Africans to ensure that water is not wasted, and the Department of Water Affairs to ensure that all members of the public are provided with clean drinkable water and that there are no delays in service delivery. And finally, applauds all efforts by departments in ensuring that at least some people have access to water, but urge that more be done in realizing this for all South Africans. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objection, agreed to the EFF. Order.
I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House notes that today marks 113 years since the passing away of Harriet Tubman, a revolutionary woman, an African-American slave abolitionist who escaped slavery in 1849 and traveled to the north of South America using an underground railroad. Further notes that this revolutionary woman, born in Aramita Ross in 1822 in Dorchester County, Maryland, on the plantation where parents were enslaved, took the name Harriet at the time she married John Tubman, a free black man, around 1844. Harriet Tubman lived and worked enslaved in this area from her childhood until she escaped to freedom at the age of 27 in 1849. Further notes that after her escape, She went back to the plantation 19 times to free family, friends, and other enslaved African Americans, becoming one of the most prominent conductors on the Underground Railroad, which rightfully earned her the title Moses of her people. In 1859, she purchased a farm in Auburn, New York, and established a home for her family and others, which anchored the remaining years of her life. Acknowledges that in celebrating the life of Harriet Tubman, we remember her commitment to freedom and rededicate ourselves to the timeless principles she struggled to uphold. Her story is one of extraordinary courage and effectiveness in the movement to abolish slavery and racism, not only in America, but as an inspiration to all oppressed people worldwide. Further acknowledges that the story of Harriet Tubman is a constant reminder of the indestructibility of the spirit of our people and of the weakness of the philosophy of racism and oppression in America. Here is South Africa and everywhere else in the world. Call on the House to recognize the freedom we now enjoy and take for granted as a result of the sweat, blood, and tears of many who, like Harriet Tubman, gave their lives for the liberation of black people worldwide. I so move. Thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objection agreed to. The EFF?
Ke a leboga modulasetilo. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House notes the struggles our community radio stations are facing. Further notes that community radio stations are there to assist in information dissemination to communities. These community radio stations are launched with much fanfare but soon run out of funds and are provided with no support from government agencies that should be supporting them. Acknowledges that most of these stations rely on private funding, which of course dictates to them what to advertise. Further acknowledges that the lack of funding disadvantages not only community radio stations, but communities themselves, who have no other means of getting news that concerns them, and as a result, get alienated from participating in things that concerns them. Further note that employees of some community radio stations such as Kurara FM in Kuruman and Radio Temaneng in Kimberley in the Northern Cape province go for months without receiving their stipends. These are committed radio presenters who continue to give our community information irrespective of their circumstances. We call on government to intervene and advocate for funding for community radio stations, not only the mentioned stations, but throughout South Africa. Further call on government to make sure that when licenses are issued, radio stations are supported and guided to possible funders. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to.
No, we oppose, Chair.
Honorable members, may I appeal, when we need to object, we need to do so quickly. Can we please make sure that we do so in future, the ANC?
Can we acknowledge that?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House congratulates Lieutenant General Deliwe Susan Dilange for being appointed the female provincial commissioner in Gauteng. She has commenced her duties on the 1st of March 2016. Further notes that Dilange is an experienced police officer who rose through police ranks, recalls that she was previously the cluster commander of Sebokeng for 6 years. Further recalls that she was also the station commander at Zakani and Kempton Park police stations. Recognizes that Dilange holds various awards, including being crowned Senior Manager of the Year for 2 consecutive years, and also is a winner of the Provincial Commissioner's Award. Further recognizes that she has a diploma in policing and a certificate in leadership and project management from UNISA. Trusts that through her dedication and experience, she will assist in sweeping the province clean of crime and corruption, and wishes her success in her new position of responsibility. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Lilunga lelihloniphekile le-UDM, landelwe i-EFF, angathi ke phakathi kaMatthias nawe ngubani?
Thank you, House Chair. I move without notice on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that the House notes that the South African left-arm spinner, Aaron Pangiso, has been cleared to play at the World 2020 tournament in India after an independent reassessment of his bowling action found it to be perfectly legal. Further notes that the 32-year-old failed test carried out by the International Cricket Council on March 1st, having been reported in domestic 50-over matches last month. Further recognizes that Pangiso was suspended from bowling until his action could be retested and has now been cleared to resume his career, having worked with the South African spin bowling consultant Claude Henderson over the past week. We wish him the best of luck with his future career in cricket. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. EFF?
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes that black South Africans continue to be landless people without dignity and land to call their own. Note that even in death, we fail to restore just a little dignity out of respect for those who have passed on by providing land to lay their remains. Residents of Mthatha in OR Tambo region are forced to lay their remains of their loved ones on top of others' remains at Mbuke Cemetery. It is only under the leadership of the EFF that land will be nationalized for equitable distribution and efficient use. Acknowledges that we do not have to wait for people to pass on to restore their dignity. We call on all local authorities, not only in Mthatha, but across the country, to respect, restore dignity, and honor those who have passed on by providing decent cemeteries for their families to bury their remains properly. If we have enough land for golf estate, golf courses, racetracks, and game parks, we must be decent enough to bury our loved ones with dignity. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Objection.
Motion falls away. Ngibona ilunga lelihloniphekile babemncango eti phephetha lapha. Sengimangele ukuthi ngabe Nkosi yami nina bekunene kushothi sesiyafana nyalo. Le equality ayisapheleli nje kokunye seyenda ukuthi nasekukhuleni sive ngekufanayo. Ngeke ngiyacela kusho kumalunga lahloniphekile ngimbonile naba beStazen lana naye etiphephetha kuthi inkinga kushisa ingathi ekhona isebenzi siyalungisa ke nina bekunene. Ngidocela ilunga le-EFF.
House Chair, I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House notes that the 6th of March marked 2 years since the death of one of the most progressive revolutionaries of our time, the late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. Further notes that Chavez, born to humble origins and brought up in a mud hut by his grandmother, rose to become a symbol of imperial resistance and emancipatory politics of the left, and together with Cuba, led the regional integration of Latin American countries into what is now called the Bolivarian Alliance for the peoples of our America. Acknowledges that through his initiative, Petro-Carib, created in 2005, affords 17 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean with a secure energy supply. And that in 2008, he led the formation of UNASUAR, an intergovernmental union of South American unions. And in 2011, he led the formation of Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, bringing together for the first time all 33 nations of Western Hemisphere, emancipated from the tutelage of United States and Canada, which have been excluded from the body. Further acknowledged that it was his actions that led to the rapid development and industrialization of not only Venezuela, but of Latin America. A development that earned Chavez the wrath of the United States and all those who seek to impose state neoliberal policies on developing world. Accept that it was through Chavez's leadership that in Venezuela, land has been distributed to the landless. Poverty rate has been halved and extreme poverty reduced by 2/3. Child malnutrition reduced, access to safe drinking water increased, social expenditure were increased, and pensions for the elderly went from less than 400,000 recipients to over 2 million, while hundreds of thousands of new homes were built for those in slums. Notes with disdain the attempts of the new colonialists to reverse the gains made in Venezuela through the imposition of neoliberal policies and the attempts on the regime change to dislodge Nicolas Maduro, the wealthy successor of Chavez. Further accept that from the Bolivian revolution, led by Chavez, developing country learn and copy emancipatory programs for the development of their people, and it is for that reason that the economic freedom fighters is committed to bring about radical, self-perpetuating development through redistribution of wealth. May the revolutionary soul of our leader, Hugo Chavez, rest in eternal peace. And for all he has done for humanity. We proclaim, your soul Chavez, we are Chavez, so I move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Objection.
The DA objects, motion falls away. Order, honorable members. Are there any further motions without notice? Order, honorable members. The National Assembly table, Honorable Shandu and Honorable Paulson. Order. Honorable members, there is a motion that was read in the name of J.L. Mahlangu on the death of 10 people in Makhuba's Kloof. I just want to bring to the House's attention that that motion was also done yesterday. So this one falls away. Thank you. Order. Order, honorable members. Ake sihlise amazwi. The first item on the order paper is a motion in the name of Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the House, in terms of Section 2, subsection 1 of the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers Act, Act 20 of 1998, and having due regard to the criteria listed in that subsection, determines that the salary payable to the President of the Republic of South Africa shall be 2,874,851 rands with effect from the 1st of April 2015. And in terms of Section 2, subsection 2 of the Act, further determines that the amount of 120,000 rands per annum as that portion of the remuneration of the President to which Section 8, subsection 1D of the Income Tax Act, Act 58 of 1962, shall apply. I so move.
I now put the motion. Order, yes, Honorable Member?
Before you put the motion, Honorable Chair, would like to move an amendment to that motion. With your permission.
Order, Honorable Member, let me consult. Thank you, honorable members. In terms of a procedure, I will have to put the first question on the motion that was proposed earlier, and if the DA oppose, they can then raise an issue to amend.
Madam Chair,
Order. Yes, Honorable Matias.
the economic freedom fighters would like to rise on a point of, or question of privilege, and to propose amendment.
Well, the DA has just requested the same. Order, Honorable Member. I've noted Honorable Esther Nazen. I think there was a mistake on the matter. Let's allow the DA to put their motion, their amendment, and then the EFF, if it still wants to do so, we will, and then we'll come back. Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I hereby move an amendment to the draft resolution on the order paper in the name of the Chief Whip of the majority party as follows. The deletion in the first paragraph of everything after the word shall, and the insertion of the following. In light of the reckless actions taken by the President in December last year and their devastating effects on the South African economy and the pensions of millions of South Africans, shall remain unchanged at the existing level of remuneration. I so move.
Honorable Member, I wish to recognize the EFF.
House Chair, once again on behalf of the economic freedom fighters, we rise to propose amendment to the draft resolution of the Chief Whip of the majority party, that the House changes subsection 1, bracket 1, and remove altogether bracket 2, and read as follows. In terms of section 2, bracket 1 of the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers Act 20 of 1998, and having due regard to the criteria listed in that subsection, in particular subsection B, determines that the salary payable to the President of the Republic of South Africa shall be suspended indefinitely, since he has admitted that he unduly benefited from Nkandla upgrades, and now he wants to pay back the money, so he doesn't deserve of any salary increment or adjustment.
Order, honorable members. I have just noted two parties that have made amendments, and I just want to indicate that procedurally there seems to be some question on how that should be done. I think we will try and discuss with the whips outside if times allow, so that in future such a mishap doesn't happen with regards to how we manage the amendments if they are. But we will check with the House whether the amendment as proposed by the EFF is the last one from any other party. Okay. Can I now put the amendment of the EFF? Well, I think there must be some consultation, because in terms of the table staff, it is the last motion that you put first and you follow with the other one. Order, honorable members. Can we put the amendment of the EFF to the House? Are there any objections?
Honorable House Chairperson, the ANC objects.
If there being the objections, I now put the questions. Those in favor of the amendment of the EFF will say aye. And those against will say no. I think the ayes have it.
Madam Chair,
Sorry, the noes have it. Yes, Honorable Matthias?
the EFF would want to make a declaration. Yeah, we still want to make a declaration.
Honorable Matthias, it's your own amendment, so you cannot make a declaration.
Madam Chair, we call for a division.
A division having been called, the bells will be rung for 1 minute. Hello? A division having been called, the bells will be rung for 5 minutes. I've just been corrected. Order, honorable members. I would like to remind members that they may only vote from their allocated seats. When requested to do so, members must simply indicate their vote by pressing the appropriate button below the yes, no, or abstain signs. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the correct button. The last button pressed will be recorded as the members vote when the voting session is closed by the chair. The question before the House is that the amendment as moved by Honorable S.N. Matiase be agreed to. Are all members in their allocated seats? Voting will now commence. Those in favor of the amendment should press the yes button. Those against should press the no button. Those wishing to abstain should press the abstain button. Have all members voted? Those whose electronic system is not working can submit their names to the table. Okay. Thank you. The voting session is now closed. The result of the division is as follows. Yes, 81. No, 172. Abstain, 4. The amendment is therefore not agreed to.
Madam Chair,
Order, yes.
the EFF would like to make a declaration.
Order, honorable member. Already we have concluded on the voting, and as I indicated earlier, it was your motion. I now put the amendment of the Democratic Alliance. Are there any objections to the amendment of the DA?
The ANC object.
I now put the question. Those in favor will say...
Madam House Chair, before you put the vote, I want to say that the guide procedure is clear about declarations. And that is before the House is to vote. Members are given the opportunity, at your discretion, of course. It's your discretion. Let me finish. The reason why you have a declaration is that so members can motivate for the amendment and explain to the House. So it makes no sense to have a declaration afterwards, because the reason for it is to try and convince fellow members of the House. If you have it afterwards, it's a pointless exercise. So I would ask if you would be able to grant a member of each party who wants to 3 minutes to make a declaration in favor or against the question. And that's in the guide to procedure. I'm not making it up.
Order.
Thanks.
Honorable members, I've noted your point. Given that there was no member in your motion that have requested to make a declaration, that's why I proceeded. In the case of the EFF, they were the ones who wanted to make a declaration when they were the ones who have moved for the amendment. So I exercise my discretion, as you have said, and I indicated again to Honorable Matias that they cannot make a declaration after while we have voted. I'm just clarifying that at the moment, apart from you, Honorable Member Stenesen, advising us on the procedure, no other party has made a request. I'm noting, Honorable Katia, is that a point of order?
Deputy Chair, now we would also like to do a declaration.
Is there any other party wishing to make a declaration? I've noted COPE, I've noted EFF, I've noted the ANC, I've noted the IFP, I've noted the NFP, UDM, DA, UCDP, ACDP, Order, honorable members. Declarations having been requested, I now would like to give an opportunity to COPE.
Chairperson, just clarity, Honourable Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
Just clarity. I thought the procedure was that the declaration would take place when we vote on the motion on the order paper, not on every one of the proposed amendments. So the suggestion is that we proceed with the voting on the amendment, and that before we get to the final motion on the order paper, that is that we have the opportunity for declarations. Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you. I've noted the issue of procedure that has been raised. I would like to draw members' attention on Rule 81 on the declaration of votes. It says the presiding officer may at any time after a question has been fully put permit one member of each party to state on behalf of his or her party, in a speech not exceeding 3 minutes, the reasons why the party is in favor or against the question. In terms of Rule 81, subsection 1, I had already put the question, and then members have requested a declaration which I've granted. That's why I took the list of parties that wish to make a declaration. I will appeal to members that we proceed. COPE.
I've still got energy. The Congress of the People rejects with the contempt that it deserves any increase in the salary and remuneration benefits of a president. COPE submits that the president doesn't deserve an increase, and neither does South Africans deserve Mr. Zuma as its president. President Zuma has brought shame to the office of a presidency and to the nation. All public representative salaries must
Madam House
also
Chair.
be frozen.
Order, honorable member.
I'm sorry to interrupt the honorable member at the podium, but may I address you on a rule, on a point of order, where members are not supposed to make animal sounds, and it's not a laughing matter. It is in the rule book, madam, and I ask you to rule on that and to protect the speaker at the podium.
Order, honorable member Molewa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's really on a point of order. The animal sounds must be really about the animals. We manage animals and we deal with animals. So what animal sound is it here?
Order, honorable members, may I appeal to all of us that we maintain the decorum of the House. Order, honorable members. Honorable members.
Lalela isihlalo lapho ngaphambili.
Honorable members.
Ayikho ibhlungu lento waphela uminister loya. Akufanele uminister enze lento ayenzayo. Asihloniphaneni webafethu. Uminister lo ngiyamhlonipha. Angiyithandi lento ayenzayo.
Malunga hloniphekile alenje shamthetho. Malunga ahloniphekile endlu yeshamthetho. Honorable members, it does not help. It does not help. Honorable members of the DA, honorable members of the DA, I've asked all honorable members to please be in order. Can we please respect one another and indeed not continue to make sounds that are unparliamentary in terms of our rules? And I would really appeal to all of us to give the member on the podium the opportunity to make a statement so that all of us can proceed and do the business of the House. Honorable Ollis, what is the point of order?
Thank you. I agree with you entirely. The Honorable Edna Molewa.
Order.
I beg your pardon. The Honorable Molewa over there is showing the fist to members of the opposition like she's going to beat us. I think really...
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members. Can we please behave in an honorable way? Honorable Katia, can you proceed?
Yeah, Chair. Thank you. Chair, I just have to say, okay, President Zuma has brought shame
Sorry,
Sihlalo,
lapho ngaphambili.
to the nation.
Sihlalo, ngiyacela bakithi.
Order, can you take a seat?
Ngiyabonga. And bengithi la ake kucace ukuthi uNkulunkulu akasidalanga ngendlela efanayo. Umuntu nomuntu unesici sakhe. Angisiboni isidingo ukuthi umuntu mangabe kunesici esithile fanele lana kuzokhulunywa ngaso. Ibhlungu lento enzeka kuKhatha. Ngiyabonga.
Order. Honorable members, can we please be respectful of one another? Umama ukhawula ukusho kahle ke ngesizulu. Laba basikhulumayo bayazi ukuthi alikho isoka elingenasici. And I think we need to accord one another respect even if we differ. Honorable Katia.
Thank you, Chair. President Zuma has brought shame to the office of a presidency and to the nation. All public representative salaries must also be frozen, and the increases of between 21 and 28,000 that was paid out yesterday should be paid back. Through the President's behavior, ably supported by the ANC, our political system and our constitutional democracy lie broken. Institutions of our state have been corrupted and white-anted, and this very House's integrity has been rubbished. President Zuma has, through his actions, wiped out billions of rand of wealth, devalued our currency, brought us to the precipice of bankruptcy, and resulted in our imminent attainment of junk statement. The President does not deserve an increase, but our country deserves an ethical President who will put the interest of a nation and its people before his own personal interest. Those of his cronies, including the Guptas, and those of his party. As more and more solid information emerges, the firing of Minister Nene and the hiring of his MK comrade, Minister van Rooyen, it would seem appropriate for the President to approach the Guptas for an increase. Chairperson, I just want to say that we have to respect nature. And you cannot control nature. So if the cats are on heat, let them continue meowing. I thank you.
The EFF.
The EFF is not going to legitimize an illegitimate president or dignify the ANC draft resolution with a response. We must be the only country in the world where a man can steal, a man can abuse state resources, a man can collapse integrity of state security agencies,
Point
a
of
man
order,
can
Chair.
allow for a breach of
Order,
national
Honourable Member,
security.
will you take your seat, please? Why are you rising, Honourable Member?
Honourable Chair, the member raises matters in his address which need a substantive motion in terms of the call of the House.
Honourable Member, at the podium you have mentioned that a man that steals, that requires a substantive motion. Will you withdraw those remarks or will you table a substantive motion?
Where must I
Order.
withdraw,
Order, honorable
Chair?
members. Clarify your statement, please.
A man can steal.
Who are you referring to, honorable member?
Point of order, Chair.
No, I'm not recognizing you yet. I'm dealing with a member at the podium.
Point
You
of
must clarify
order.
his statement.
Point of order.
Okay, let me clarify my statement, Chair.
Yes, clarify it, please.
We must be the only country in the world.
Honorable member, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to the President, Jacob
Honorable member,
Zuma.
will you withdraw the remark or table a substantive motion to substantiate your remarks that the president has stolen?
But he has stolen, Chair.
Honorable member, order. Order, honorable members. Will you withdraw the remark or are you going to deliver a substantiative motion to the House, honorable member?
House Chair.
No, I have not recognized you,
I rise on
honorable
a point
member.
of order.
I'm dealing with a member at the podium.
I rise on a point of order.
No, honorable member. The member at the podium must clarify himself. Thereafter, I will recognize you.
Point of order.
The member at the podium must withdraw the remark or he must submit a substantiated motion.
I draw, Chair.
It has been withdrawn. Continue, honorable member.
We must be the only country in the world where a president can abuse state resources. A president can collapse the integrity of state security agencies. A president can allow for breach of national security. A president can admit to full bench of judges of the highest court in the land
Honorable Chair.
that he unduly benefited from taxpayers' money, and now he wants to pay back the money.
Order, honorable
He
member,
could
will
not
you
have
take your
possibly
seat,
earned
please?
in these last few years.
Honorable member at the podium, will you take your seat? Why are you rising, honorable member?
I'm raising on the same matter, Chair, that the member continues to cast aspersions, raise matters here in his statement without following the proper procedure.
I will allow the honorable member to continue.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair.
Order, honorable members.
A president who is fed by the state with his family of 5 wives and his more than 15 children, including his friends from India. A president who's dressed and sheltered by the state, he must still receive a salary. As far as we are concerned, we do not recognize Mr. Zuma as the president. We will continue to use constitutional mechanism provided to ensure that we remove Mr. Zuma from the office. Only those who work must be remunerated. The ANC must be ashamed for the audacity to request Parliament to approve Mr. Zuma's increase. In our belief, anyone that should be paid must be the person who has achieved his key performance areas. The president has broke his own presidential oath. He has violated the Constitution. He has betrayed the trust of the people of the country. The least he should do is to resign. Thank you, Chair.
The ACDP. Order, honorable members.
Thank you, Chair. In view of the economic circumstances facing South Africa and the realities impacting on the South African people, the ACDP supports the proposal that no increase in salary shall apply to the President and that the President's salary shall remain the same. Thank you.
Are there any further declarations? The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, when we come to this podium here to speak, we must be honest with ourselves. We must not speak from two sides of our mouth. We talk about the economy. We all realize that we are facing challenging times in our country at the moment, as are international countries also facing challenging times. Just yesterday, there were smiles on almost 500 members of Parliament's faces and members of the legislature throughout the country when we received our 4.5% increase. We should have then had the courage, if we were talking about economic times, to refuse that 4.5% increase and say that that money should be distributed to the citizens of this country. Honorable Chairperson, what we're talking about here today is a salary payable to the President of the Republic from the 1st of April 2015. And now one can argue that the incumbent is President Zuma. But we should be looking at the office of the President of the Republic. Next week.
Order, honorable members. Be careful of the remarks you pass, Honorable Yildiz. It may require substantive motion. So it's very rich. Continue, Honorable Singh.
So we are looking at the office of the President. Next week, we may find the ruling party having a meeting, a conference, recalling the incumbent from the office of President. Then what do we do? Then we say no increase. We as the IFP will be consistent in what we say. We've accepted a 4.5% increase, and I don't care what you say on my left, Honorable Lewis and anybody else, because we are here in the interest of the people, the majority of this country, not for the minority like it's been for many, many years. So I think those kinds of comments coming from you are just cheap comments which we should not tolerate in this House. And I'm sorry that I have to do that, because usually I'm a very calm and collected individual. But when people are not interested in the affairs of the majority of this country and they use this resolution here to score cheap political points, then it doesn't augur well for our country. Further, Honorable Speaker, we get political parties that have come here that have supported the total suspension of the President's salary. And then they will support the fact that the salary of the President should not be increased. What are you supporting or not supporting? President will support the resolution as tabled. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The NFP. Order, Honorable Members. Continue, Honorable Member.
House Chairperson, as the National Freedom Party, we espoused our views with regard to the state of our country, that we really find ourselves in perilous times where the economy of the country is ailing, and it needs a political will to turn around that. We also spoke about the state-owned enterprises, that we need to turn around them so that they be profitable for the sake of this country. We also spoke about drought, that it has pushed about 50,000 of South Africans to live far below the poverty datum line. And a lot of farmers are now facing problems as a result of drought. They need about 4 billion that will save them from this drought. If it continues, about 6 billion a year. If it continues, about 3 billion a year. These are the things that we want our country to do, and that needs a political will. Having said that, Chairperson, the NFP will support. Members have received their increase, and we support the increase for the President. Thank you.
The UDM.
Thank you, House Chair. Siyabulela tata. Yabona luchuku lusulixoxa apha. Sidlala njengexesha. Okokuqala ayo performance bonus lo. Or performance increase. Andithi nathi unyanisile Honorable Singh. Kuthe kusawungena unotify misancuma apha kwamnandi kwasegege. The same increase ngosithi umongameli mangayifumani intsomi kamlengana mosileyo. Kodwa ke siyaunderstanda ukuthi we must use elithuba ngamaxesha kaloku siyipolitiki apha sikho senkonzweni. Samane sibethane yaqonda. Kodwa siyanicela man thina si-United Democratic Movement, we did the same thing last year. We did not hesitate or even have a problem supporting the draft resolution because we knew that rejecting it at the time would have been very hypocritical of us. And we cannot do that. We will not do that. Mayingene mhlekazi mongameli nawe khawulindo wakho notify me siyabulela.
Are there any further declarations? Are there any further declarations? The DA? Order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. House Chairperson is going to talk about minorities and majorities. We stand here today to speak about the 8.3 million South Africans, Honourable Singh, who sit at home and are unemployed through the policies of President Jacob Zuma. We speak on behalf of the millions of South Africans who saved and worked their 30 to 40 years of their lives to save up for pensions, and have it now those pension savings significantly destroyed by the actions of President Zuma in December. We speak up for the millions of South Africans who don't have work because in December last year, the president of this country took a decision to fire the finance minister, replace him with a backbencher, only to change his mind 48 hours later. Our currency went through the floor. We had a 230 billion rand cutting of our economy. We speak for those South Africans who don't have a voice on this side of the house and clearly are running out of allies on this side of the house as well. I think it's grotesque, absolutely grotesque, to compare the work that we as members of parliament have done diligently to fight and stand up for the people of South Africa with the complete inaction and irresponsibility of the man who sits behind that coat of arms and should be standing up for the people of the Republic of South Africa. I think it's grotesque that on the verge of South Africa being downgraded to junk status in South Africa, that we want to give this man an increase in his salary. He wants to junk South Africa, but wants an increase from the taxpayer. We speak up for the millions of South Africans who are struggling under an economic growth rate of 0.8%. Who's speaking for them in the House today? Not the ANC, it's the Democratic Alliance. The truth of the matter is that within Kandla, the President of the Republic of South Africa drove over us all with a bus. In December last year, he put the bus in reverse and reversed over all of us, including his own ANC caucus. He then crashes the bus. He crashes the bus and comes cap in hand to the taxpayers of South Africa and says, "I've done a great job, give me a raise." We say no for so far and no further. President Zuma does not deserve a cent to this increase. He has failed to perform, and we will continue to say on behalf of the millions of South Africans who suffer under the Zuma administration, you want more, we're going to give you the door.
Agang. Order, honourable members.
Honourable Chair, I'm not going to be long. Honourable President must get his salary increase. And not only Honourable President, even Honourable Kola Barnett must get his higher increase. We are not children. Honourable President Honourable President Zuma is still the president of the country. We can't discriminate him unless if we want him to join a trade union to fight for his increase. He is a president of this country. Nothing personal. It's not about whether we come from different political parties. That is his right. He must get his increase, and no doubt about it, and finish and clear.
The ANC.
Thank you.
Order, honourable members.
Thank you, House Chairperson. You know, it's a pity that all of us sitting in this house, we received our salaries increase this morning in our bank accounts. And that salary increase was signed by the president without thinking twice. He didn't discriminate against anyone. Even the racists received that salary increase in this house. Number two,
Order, Chair.
I don't know whether...
Order, honourable members. Order. Take your seat, Honourable Acting Chief Whip. Why are you rising, honorable member?
Chair, we have been chucked out severally in this house.
What is the point of order that you're rising on?
She is saying that the racists, she's casting aspersions
That
that in
is
this
a
house
point of
they are
debate. Take
racist.
your seat, honorable member.
But you must be consistent, Chair.
Take your seat, honorable member.
Chairperson.
Continue, honorable
Chairperson.
Chief Whip.
Thank you, Honorable House
Speaker.
Chairperson.
Chairperson.
I don't know because the
Honorable
very
Acting
same...
Chief Whip, will you take your seat? Why are you rising, honorable member?
Actually, Chairperson, to call members of the House.
I'm not an acting chairperson. I am the chairperson of the House. What is your point of order, honorable member?
Chairperson, it's quite clear to call members of Parliament racists is not a matter for debate.
Take your seat, honorable member.
Would you please respond to my concern?
Take your seat. Continue, honorable Acting Chief Whip.
Chairperson.
Honorable House Chairperson, I was sitting there and listening to them making their
Honorable
declaration.
Acting Chief Whip, I'm taking another point of order. I want to remind honorable members of Rule 51, and I will apply it. Continue, honorable member.
Chairperson, I'm really sorry. I don't really want to interrupt the member, but
Why are you rising, honorable member?
because using the words of racist, like the EFF stood up and
Take
said,
your
is
seat,
wrong.
honorable member.
So you are saying that it is
Continue,
correct.
honorable Acting Chief Whip.
Honorable House Chairperson, I
Chairperson.
don't know because the very same parties who are raising matters that are before the courts are the ones who took those matters to
Chairperson.
court. And I don't know by their action whether they
Honorable
think that they will
Acting
be
Chief Whip
able.
of the majority party. Honorable Acting Chief Whip of the majority party, I am recognizing this honorable member. To hear how different his rising is to the other points that have been raised that I've already ruled upon. Why are you rising, honorable member?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have a problem because...
No, I don't deal with problems here, honorable member.
Chair,
Continue,
Chair,
honorable Acting Chief Whip.
But listen to my point of...
Honorable
my
House
point of
Chairperson,
Order.
the very
Chair, you must
same
listen to my
two
point of-
parties,
Order,
Chair. Order,
the
Chair.
DIFA Alliance,
Order.
are the
Order.
ones who took this matter of
Order,
Uganda
Chair.
to court.
Honorable
I
Acting
don't
Chief
know,
Whip.
but
Honorable Acting Chief Whip, may I just indicate to the other members who are also rising now, I'm not going to entertain this point further.
Chair,
I've ruled on the matter and I'm
raising a
allowing
point of
you to
order to
continue.
you, Chair. I'm
If
raising a
you,
point
if
of
you
order
wish
to
to
you.
continue, honorable member, I will apply Rule 51. Take your seat, please.
But I'm raising a point of
Honorable
order
member,
to you.
take your seat.
Yeah,
Honorable member, if you are not prepared to take your seat, I'm asking you to leave the House. Continue, Acting Chief Whip.
Honorable House Chairperson, they took this matter of Nkandla to court. I don't know whether their cheap political stance they think that it will influence the outcome of the court. Why can't you wait for the court to make its own judgment about this matter? The president will receive his salary increase whether you like it or not. He is still the president of this country. Whether he reshuffles his cabinet, he doesn't need to consult anyone. It is his constitutional right to do so. Live with it.
Are there any declarations? Any further declarations? There's none. There's none. No, you don't represent the PAC, honorable member. In change, maybe you have taken up double membership of another party, but I don't think you represent the PAC. They're not here. They're not here. Honorable members, there's been an amendment that has been moved by the Honorable Mutau. I now put the amendment. Those in favor will say aye, and those against will say no. I think the noes have it.
Chair, the DA calls for a division. Thank you.
A division having been called for, the bells will be rung for 5 minutes. Order, honorable members, will you take up your allocated seats, please? Thank you. I would like to remind honorable members that they may only vote from the allocated seats. And when requested to do so, members must simply press their vote by pressing the appropriate button below the yes, no, or abstain signs. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the correct button. The last button pressed will be recorded as the member's vote when the voting session is closed. The question before the House is that the amendment as moved by the Honorable Mutau be agreed to. Are all members in their allocated seats? Voting will now commence. Those in favor of the amendment as moved by the Honorable Mutau should press the yes button. Those against should press the no button. And those wishing to abstain should press the abstain button. And very importantly, I ask the question, have all members voted? Thank you. The voting session is now closed. May I ask the whips to attend to the hands that are rising towards my right? Honorable members, the result of the division is as follows. Those in favor of the amendment as moved by the Honorable Mutau is 82. Those against is 172. And there are 2 abstentions. The amendment as moved by the member is thus rejected. Honorable members, I now want to return to the motion as it appears on the order paper and moved by the acting chief whip. I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There are objections. I put the question. Those in favor of the motion as moved by the acting chief whip of the majority party will say aye. And those against will say no. I think the ayes have it.
Chairperson, the DA calls for division.
A division having been called for, the bells will be rung for 1 minute. Order. I would like to remind honorable members that they may only vote from the allocated seats, and when requested to do so, members must simply press their vote by pressing the appropriate button below the yes, no, or abstain signs. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the correct button. And the last button pressed will be recorded as the member's vote when the voting session is closed. The question before the House is that the motion as it appears on the order paper under the name of the acting chief whip of the majority party be agreed to. Are all members in their allocated seats? Yes. Voting will now commence. Those in favor of the motion as it appears on the order paper should press the yes button. Yes. And those against should press the no button. No. Those wishing to abstain should press the abstain button. Have all members voted? There's an honourable member at the back who hasn't voted.
No, sorry, there was a mistake. They pushed Mr. Medici, Honourable Medicia's one. So we've just got to cancel
Don't play
it.
with Honourable Medicia's buttons. It will be noted that your vote will be recorded, if I'm correct, as a no. You're voting against? The table will record it, thank you. The voting session is now closed. Honourable members, the outcome of the division is as follows. Those in favour of the motion, as it appears on the order paper, and who voted in favour of it is 172. Those against is 81, and there's 2 abstentions, and the motion is thus agreed to. Honourable members, before I proceed, I want to recognise in the gallery a member of the second parliament of the Democratic South Africa, a member who led a minority party at the time and who has joined us in the gallery, the Honourable Cassie Oukamp. Welkom Cassie. Goed om jou te zien. The second item on the order paper is also a motion in the name of the Chief Whip of the majority party. I now recognize the Honourable, the Acting Chief Whip.
Honorable House Chairperson, I move that the House, subject to the concurrence of the National Council of Provinces, extends the deadline by which the ad hoc committee on appointment of board members to the National Youth Development Agency has to report to the 8th of April 2016. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections, agreed to. The third item on the order paper is also a motion in the name of the Acting Chief Whip of the Majority Party. I now recognize the Honourable, the Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the following item that was on the order paper and which, in terms of Rule 316, lapsed at the end of last sitting day of the 2016 annual session, be revived for consideration by the National Assembly. Consideration of candidate nominated for appointment as Inspector General of Intelligence Services. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections.
Chair, well, there's no
Yes.
objections, but we'd like to make a declaration, please.
I'm exercising my discretion since the matter is coming before the House that we at this stage will not allow declarations on this matter. Are there any objections? There hasn't been any objections, and the motion is thus agreed to. The last motion on the order paper is also in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. I now recognize the Honourable, the Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the following items that were on the order paper and which, in terms of Rule 316, lapsed at the end of the last sitting day of 2015 annual session, be revived for consideration by the National Assembly. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on oversight visit to Mpumalanga and Gauteng provinces. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on oversight visit to Northern Cape provinces. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on annual report 2013-14 and 2013-14 of Safety and Security Sector Education and Training Authority and Public Service Education and Training Authority. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on Strategic Plan 2015-16 to 2019-20 and Annual Performance Plan 2015-16 of Mining Qualification Authority and Transport Education and Training Authority. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on Strategic Plan 2015-16 to 2019-20 and Annual Performance Plan 2015-16 of Culture, Arts, Tourism, Hospitality and Sports Sector Education and Training Authority and Safety and Security Sector Education and Training Authority. Consideration of Portfolio Committee on Sports and Recreation on Commission for Gender Equality, public hearing report on gender transformation in South African football. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises on oversight visit to Port of Saldanha Bay. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises on oversight visit to Transnet Port of Durban. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Rural Development and Land Reform on public hearings on implementation of recapitalization and development program. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry on colloquium and relationship and impact of transfer pricing on beneficiation or value addition as set out in Industrial Policy Action Plan and on broadening participation as outlined in Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act. I so move.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The first item on the order paper is member statements. Does any member of the ANC wish to make a statement? Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. On behalf of the ANC, I would like to congratulate the South African Police Services on the recent opening of the Diepsloot Police Station in Gauteng. This will bring vital services closer to the community of Diepsloot and ensure that residents feel safe at home, at school, and at work in the Diepsloot area, and enjoy a community life free of fear. Diepsloot residents have been isolated and marginalized for long enough. We call on the police to increase visible policing patrols to ensure that the residents can realize the vision of a safer community. The South African Police Service should now join hands with the community of Diepsloot to combat the problem of unlicensed liquor outlets and drugs merchants. This will go a long way in addressing some of the social ills faced by the Diepsloot community. We wish the service good luck and safety in the new station. May God watch over you. I thank you.
The Democratic Alliance.
Ngiyabonga, Sihlalo. The Democratic Alliance congratulates the Metro Police Service of the DA-led City of Cape Town for the successes and achievements of its stabilization units introduced in July 2015 to tackle gang and drug-related violence on the Cape Flats. By November, this 90-member unit, working with the South African Police Service, had reduced the number of shootings in Manenberg from an average of 3 shootings a day to just 1 in 4 months. The effectiveness of the strategy lies in area saturation by keeping officers posted outside every known drug dealer's house, using city bylaws and information from residents to smother the flow of drugs, guns, and money, coupled with increased visible patrolling and stop-and-search operations. This also alleviates the pressure on the SAPs and other enforcement agencies who may not have the resources to maintain high visibility in an area for a prolonged period. We welcome this tangible demonstration of increased community safety as the fruits of DA local governance, which can be enjoyed by South Africans in all metros where residents vote to bring the DA to power in the upcoming local government elections. I thank you.
The EFF.
The EFF notes media reports about the Gupta's attempt to capture the National Treasury by offering the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mr. Jonas, the position of the Minister of Finance, just like what they did to Minister Fikile Mbalula. We can now confirm that the meeting indeed took place a few weeks back before Nene was fired. The EFF warned this House and the nation when it happened that Minister of Mineral Resources is employed by Zuptas as an executive of their company, not a minister. Those who still have doubts can see for themselves. Now he is busy traveling with the Guptas to negotiate deals on their behalf. We know that the Guptas have already started to move 2 billion of ill-gotten gains have already been moved to Dubai, and they are in the process to move more.
Point
This
of
is
order,
not
House Chair.
rumors or innuendos.
Order, honourable member, will you take your seat, please? Why are you rising, honourable member?
A member that is reading the statement is casting aspersion of a serving member of this House, and therefore I request him to withdraw.
Indeed, honourable member, you are referring to sitting members of the House, and as you know and I know, that requires a substantive motion. You must withdraw.
No, I'm not sure, Chair, what you're referring to. I'm talking about people employed by Zuptas. There's no Zupta that
In fact,
employs
honourable
people
member, in previous sittings of the House, the word Zuptas has been ruled unparliamentary as well. You must thus withdraw.
I draw, Chair.
And you can continue with your statements,
This
honourable
is
member.
not rumors or innuendos. It is the reality. We wrote to all relevant authorities, Minister of Finance, Governor of the Reserve Bank, Director of Financial Intelligence Center, and SARS to investigate why the Guptas did not pay 10% exit levy on capital export. All those who form part of the Zuptas criminal organization.
Honourable member, your time has expired.
It's
Take
a
your
matter of
seat,
time
please.
before the will of justice move.
The ANC.
Thank you, Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, I wish to bring it to the attention of this House that the people of Gugulethu here in Cape Town continue to suffer under the administration of the DA-led city of Cape Town. Since 2007, the people of Cape Town in general and Gugulethu in particular has been lied to. From the first DA Mayor Helen Zille in 2007, her successor Dan Plato, and the current incumbent Patricia DeLille, the DA today continues to lie to the people of Gugs. Parts of Gugulethu such as Kanana, Barcelona, and many others still use portable toilets, which are expected to be tolerated by black people, but not by the likes of DeLille, who famously covered her nose and mouth with masks because she's too good to be exposed to the stench. Other parts of Gugulethu are categorized by backyarders dwellers and informal settlement. Furthermore, Gugulethu is plowed a high rate of violence crime, gangsterism, alcohol, and substance abuse, and the city of Cape Town has no appetite to address this, while suburbs such as Newlands and Camps Bay are prioritized. The ANC is the only organization that prioritizes the needs of the poor in this country. The ANC is the only beacon of hope for communities like Gugulethu, the only caring organization that put all people of this country first. This day will reflect
Honourable
when
member,
we
your
go
time is now expired.
election later this year.
The
People
IFP.
vote for the ANC.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Inkatha Freedom Party condemns in the strongest possible terms the recent outbreak of violent protests at Isitaba in the Mandeni district of KwaZulu-Natal. This has resulted in widespread damage to property and led to the shutting down of business premises in the area. Factories have been torched and thousands of workers and their families have had their livelihoods affected, albeit at a time when unemployment rate is extraordinarily high. It appears that the primary cause of the violence and unrest is internal fighting and factionalism within the ANC, which then spilt out onto the streets of Isitaba. The IFP takes the strongest of exception to the reckless behavior of those within the ruling party who incite this violence and unrest and urges cool heads to prevail so that the situation can be returned to normality as quickly as possible. The IFP, who encourage the development of businesses in Isitaba, during the party's term of governance of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, will do everything in its power to assist in this process where possible. Honorable Chairperson, in such a contracting economy, we can ill afford to have business razed to the ground because of such reckless actions. We implore ANC leadership in particular, and all others like the police, to contribute to restoring normality in the affected area. Thank you.
The UDM.
Honourable Chair, the ANC has no answer.
The UDM.
Oh.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. Section 29(1)(a) of the Constitution says, everyone has the right to a basic education, including adult basic education. The most underperforming education department in the country is found in the rural Eastern Cape. And it is in breach of this constitutional right because National Treasury has reallocated 530 million from the department. 400 went to Gauteng, 80 million to Limpopo, 50 million to Western Cape. These provinces consistently perform better than Eastern Cape. This money was allocated for building schools, revamping old ones, provide furniture, and maintain existing ones. The department has dismally failed to do this. Yet in 2014, the same Eastern Cape department confirmed that there were no less than 350 mud schools in the province, leaving thousands of young souls learning under unsafe conditions. Amongst other schools are SA2 Primary School in Amtata, where teachers are forced to use toilets as staff room, and pupils are taught in tents that were used by offices of the construction company. The second one is Ngangolwandle Senior Secondary School in Elliot Dale. Pupils sit outside in scorching heat, cold, and windy conditions because the department has not built them classrooms. Pupils make use of a canvas shelter, tree as ground as classrooms. The third school is...
Honourable Member, your time has expired. The ANC.
Thank you.
The ANC.
Thanks, Honourable Chair. The ANC believes that the country will only be able to mitigate the impact of the drought through collective effort. We would like to acknowledge that the effort of the current drought have been affected many areas, especially the northern KwaZulu-Natal, known as Umkhanyakude area in the KZN. The community are without water in those areas and are depending on farm communities with strong boreholes who are now selling water to them. However, Chair, the intervention of the government in the 94 affected municipality should be commended. The intervention by the government under the leadership of Honorable Comrade Unomvula Nonkonyan have seen emergency and short-term mitigation measures, including refurbishing of boreholes, repairing critical infrastructure, providing water tanker to the affected areas. We call upon municipality in the area to step in and supply water to those communities and stop the white farmers from taking advantage of the drought situation in the area by selling water to those that are in need. We are appealing as well to the municipality to ensure that they do all their level best to come on board. I thank you.
The ACDP.
Chairperson, today I want to highlight the appalling and very poor service that the Department of Home Affairs continues to give to our people. As members of Parliament, we continually receive complaints and requests for intervention. On January 18th this year, I sent an email to Mr. Mkhize's office at Home Affairs requesting assistance in the issuing of 3 marriage certificates that were applied for in July last year. Within hours, his office responded requesting further information, which was submitted the following day. A month later, I wrote to the same office again, inquiring about the progress made. The following day, Mr. Mkhize's office forwarded my email to 4 managers who were requested to deal with the matter. Part of the email to them reads, and I quote, "Dear managers, can we kindly respond to Reverend Mishwa's email today, please? This matter was forwarded for your urgent attention in January and no one responded," close quote. Chairperson, to date, the recipients of Mr. Mkhize's email, namely Misters Ramudumo, Ramsanda, Kongwani, and Pillay have not responded or heeded the urgent request by Mr. Mkhize to finalize the marriage certificates of the 3 couples that applied in July last year. I find this disgraceful and am appealing to the leader of government business, Deputy President Ramaphosa, and the Minister of Home Affairs to intervene in this long outstanding matter so that the 3 couples who have been greatly inconvenienced can finally receive their certificates. And I also appeal to them to ensure that service delivery at Home Affairs is greatly improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The ANC.
Masibonge mhlali ngaphambili ohloniphekileyo. Sisukuma singukhongolo singokukhulu ukushaqeka nokudumala ngombiko owenziwe umzimba we-South African Human Rights Commission ngezindlu zangasese zase-Cape Town la sikhona ukungaphatheki kahle ngokwenziwa kwenqubo yezindlu zangasese. Umbiko ke uqhamuke nalento iCommission eqhamuke nalokho ukuthi umasipala waseKapa uhlulekile ukuletha izindlu zangasese ezinesidima noma ezihloniphekileyo kumphakathi abahlala ezindlini zokuzakhela. Emasontweni amabili nje adlule iCommission ibambisene umbiko ukhishwe inkampani iSocial Justice Coalition ike yavakashela lapha ekhaya elisha yabona ngokwayo ama-toilet angamahamba ngendlwana ukuthi akampontshwa ngendlela ofanelekile ngezikhawu ezifanelekile okuyihlazo nechilo-ke lokho bakwethu. Ekhaya elisha iCommissioner ibone ukuthi abantu eminyakeni engaka bengaphansi kwe-DA kusenjena namanje okusho ukuthi abantu bamnyama nabantu bakithi abahluphekayo abanakho ukuhlonipheka. Kusobala-ke lokhu ukuthi i-DA ekhaya elisha lapha eKapa ihlulekile ukuqiniseka ukuthi abantu abampofu bayithola impilo engcono. Lo hulumeni we-DA olapha eKapa ufeyile ngalendlela ukuthi nami nginamahloni.
Honourable Member, your time has expired. The DA.
Honourable Chair, the ANC has no answer for unemployment. In Mpumalanga, 39.4% of the people are unemployed. The MEC on Finances has no idea on how he will get people into work and lift thousands out of a state of desperation. In his recent budget speech, the MEC had no game plan changes or proposals for economic growth. He missed the opportunity to create jobs through infrastructure development projects supported by public-private partnerships. The Democratic Alliance believes that not only will public-private partnerships improve infrastructure, they will also greatly assist in improving service delivery in the province. A DA-led provincial administration would also prioritize funding for education and skills development. It would facilitate job creation in the province and establish an environment that is supportive of the emergence of entrepreneurs by cutting red tape, establishing incentives for job creation, the scrapping of the useless Mpumalanga Growth Agency, and by establishing a new agency to support small and medium enterprises and stimulate economic growth, specifically in rural communities. The DA will achieve growth by implementing its growth plan, and which uses ideas that have proved to be successful. Continued ANC administration will need nothing, will get better. The downward slide will continue and our people will continue to suffer the misery of stagnant economy.
Sorry.
Continue, Honourable Member.
The ANC congratulates both the Department of Basic Education and Department of Science and Technology for supporting the St. John's College, which is in my constituency in Mtara. Through this support, maths and science are now compulsory subject at the school, which has more than 2,000 learners enrolled. 2 grade learners, 12 learners, were from St. John's College, Kukoku Setsengwa, and Aviwe Blackburn, have recently received awards from the Minister, Angie Musaka, for respectively obtaining positions 2 and 3 in the whole country in maths and science category. Further congratulate the staff and the school as led by their principal, Mr. Makaka, for their good work. However, We call on the government to continue assisting this school as it still needs a hall for writing exams and additional 10 classrooms. Thank you.
Agang SA.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This country cannot afford reckless politics without substance, where leaders manipulate and take our people for a ride. We must unite in condemning any violent service delivery protest. Honorable Chair, we are asking ourselves, how is the banning of libraries and universities will help the cause of the students or education? We do share in their frustration, but it's becoming difficult to separate this good cause from hooliganism and political manipulation. Honorable Chair, this country is facing serious challenges. Exploitation of workers and majority of people are also landless. Furthermore, private sectors are profit-driven with their loyalty somewhere else, with our finance minister going around begging investors. This is the indication that our country's sovereignty has been decimated. We are just an economic colony of West, who will even sponsor parties to resist any more change, even to foment civil disobedience by using corrupt leaders. We might differ politically, but we must unite to protect this land, our independence, and our freedom to be who we are. Anyone who would betray this principle is a mistake. I thank you.
The ANC.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. The ANC believes that it is significant to create strong families, cohesive communities, and a winning, prosperous nation that promotes social cohesion and stable communities. The fight against substance abuse is a key aspect in this regard. Because of substance abuse is a scourge that has the potential to destabilize our nation. On Friday, the 4th of March, the Premier of Gauteng, Honourable David Makura, officially launched the social movement against drugs and other substance abuse in Eldorado Park. What the movement seeks to achieve is to bring all the stakeholders in civil society together with government to find a solution in preventing the scourge of substance abuse in the province. An integrated and well-coordinated social transformation service delivery, machinery that is protective, preventative, promotive, transformative, developmental, and generative for the delivery of equitable, sustainable, reliable, and efficient service to eliminate poverty and unemployment, inequality, sexism, racism, and social exclusion. The burden of disease, increased safety and provision of modern human settlement in partnership with an active citizenry. It is a collective effort throughout the Gauteng province, working with all the local drug action committees. Government cannot do it alone. It has been seen that when the community work together with government, we can make a difference. The ANC call on all societies in their various wards to get involved with the local drug action committee in their wards. Standing and viewing from the sideline will not benefit our communities in preventing the scourge of substance abuse in South Africa and Gauteng and all other provinces. I thank you.
The DA.
Thank you, Chair. The DA calls upon the International Trade Administration Commission to scrap its new proposals on scrap metal exports, as they could lead to 400,000 job losses in the informal sector. On the eve of the December holidays last year, proposed amendments to the price preference system on the exportation of ferrous and non-ferrous waste and scrap were published in the Government Gazette. Bizarrely, the proposals include a requirement that all scrap metals will have to be exported through the port of Port Elizabeth. This will result in scrap metal dealers outside of Port Elizabeth racking up extra transport costs of up to 700 Rand per tonne. These costs will then be passed on to generators in the form of lower prices paid for scrap metals. The scrap metal industry contributes 15 billion Rand annually to the South African economy. Industry experts predict that, should the amendments be adopted, 400,000 jobs will be lost in the informal sector. At a time when the economy is bleeding jobs, we can ill afford more job-crushing regulations. The DA believes that the proposed amendments should be consigned to the scrap heap immediately.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. The ANC is outraged by the continued spate of random shooting of farm workers by white farmers especially in the Western Cape. We condemn these criminal acts and demand immediate action from the relevant authorities. It is in this context that we condemn the reckless behavior of a local farmer in Witzenberg and the security officer for shooting at two unarmed suspects, farm workers at the local farm. Mr. David Adonis, one of the victims, was shot twice, once in the stomach and on his arm, at close range by the farmer without any warnings. The community of Woolsley is outraged by the incident, and they have stated that this is not the first time that the same farmer has committed such acts. The farmer and the security officer have been arrested and have been released on bail in the local magistrate court. The recent shooting shows the backward attitude of some farmers in this country. We demand that those involved be held accountable, especially the farmer who forced his officer to partake in this crime. We are also calling on the farmers in this country to stop adopting a barbaric attitude against their employees. They must report all cases of suspect theft to the police and not take the law into their own hands. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the statements by members, party members. Are there any ministerial responses? Minister of Arts and Culture, the Minister of Rural Development, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Minister of Public Works, Minister of Water Sanitation, I'm left with one, Minister of Police, Minister of Arts and Culture.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks the member of the IFP, Babu Singh, ngombuzo ubuzile. The ANC is equally concerned with what is happening at Mandeni these past few days. And we can assure you that the leadership of the African National Congress in that province is on the ground, interacting with people, so that whatever you see happening there doesn't happen. What is most particularly worrying is the destruction of property, especially the sources where people get employment, the factories around the area. So the ANC is dealing with the matter, and we should see results soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Minister Nkwinti.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, the question raised by the honorable member from the Pan-Africanist Congress, the comment he makes about people are landless. It's true. A lot of people are landless. There was a question asked of us yesterday. How many people during the 2014-15 financial year, how many land claims were settled? And how many of those actually had opted for land? Honorable Chair, there were 428 land claims settled. Of that 428, only 39 opted for land. The 389 opted for money. The honorable members of this House stay with people out there. Bahlala nabantu. Abathethi nabantu batsho kubo bafuna umhlaba. Baze parliament bingumbuzo bendiubuzwa izolo kanganifumane ethuba lophendula. Lambuzo ugqitha uthi bangapha abantu abangomama. 2,607 of those are women beneficiaries. Abantu abafuni umhlaba bahlala ezidolophini. Bafuna imali. Amalungu endlu yowisomthetho awabancedisa abantu akhala apha endlwini. Enkosi.
Thank you. Ngqongqoshe Zokwana.
Thanks to Honorable Mandela on the question of violence and the shooting of farm workers by farmers. This reflects a province that refuses to accept that racism is still a problem and racism should be dealt by all. We have invited as a department, even AfriForum, to sit down with them to discuss the fate of farmers as they get attacked, and also equally the fate of farm workers. Ubuxelek bobuhlanga soze uhlanjwe ngasephu okufuna ukuvunywa ngabantu banyani ubuhlanga liqhenqa esingasoze selinyamezele noba singafihla inhloko phakathi kwamadolo singafuna uvuma ubuhlanga buyagquba eWestern Cape kona inyani zezizimbo zokuleqwa kwabantu ngathi zizilwanyana bezingelwa yibani nenhloni madoda ningqalane nixelane into yobana ukhanyela ubuhlanga in public akuncedi ngoba kuzawuphuthuluka okomsila wembuku. Sengicela DA nganisebenze eWestern Cape nicenga amagwangqane efama into yobana umuntu xemoshile akhona amapolisa mawamleqa ambambe unikini inhloko nkosi yam akuncedi efunekayo into yinye cenganani nihlamba ubuhlanga abunasephu abunawugqunywa bunevumbi elibi enkosi.
Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe Ncisi.
Thanks to the Honorable Member of the ANC, the Human Rights Commission, and also to the Justice Coalition for exposing this shame and this gross violation of the human rights. Yesterday, I made reference to the city of Cape Town as amongst those with the highest numbers of the EPWP. But when it comes to full-time equivalents, Cape Town is the lowest, which indicates that they employ people for the shortest period. On this toilet cleaning program, I must say, which is part of the EPWP, workers are exposed. They are exposed to the worst working conditions, very unhygienic conditions. Workers are so compromised in terms of no training, no proper chemicals, no cleaning materials, no protective clothing. It shows how cheap the Western Cape city, which is Cape Town, is taking the life of the black workers. This is a serious violation of the workers' rights, undermining the basic conditions of employment. They are not interested in the workers' health, but only interested in their votes. I will be sharing this with my colleagues, the Minister of Labor, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, that we send inspectors to go and look this embarrassing thing which they are doing and inspect those working sites. This is hypocrisy of the West from the city of Cape Town, which parades itself as the best in terms of governance. But look at what they are doing about the rights and the violation of those rights of the black workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister Mkonyani.
Thank you very much, ma'am. On the issue that has been raised by Honorable Member Umthethwa from the ANC with regard to Mkhanyakude, we really wish to appreciate the feedback that he has given to us, but also indicate to the House and the communities in Mkhanyakude that the ANC provincial government in KwaZulu-Natal, having looked at the incapacities and the challenges in Mkhanyakude district municipality, has taken over the administration of that municipality, and working together with them, we've been able to provide these kind of interventions that are now making a big difference in Mkhanyakude. But also in dealing with the issues of access to water, we have already started interacting with the legal communities and various stakeholders in the water sector to say no South African has the monopoly of use or distribution of water, particularly to the disadvantaged communities. It is illegal, it is wrong that commercial farmers in that part of South Africa can actually sell water to our own communities. When you have a water right, you are given the right to use the quantity that is being given to you. You do not have a right to then commercialize the distribution of water in that area. And hence the application now of use it or lose it with regard to the license that you have. Okokugcina ukuthi ngempela isimo sasemkhanya kude bekuyisimo ngempela esingathokozisi. Kungakho ke nalela dam lasejozini sesilibhobozile sifakile namapipe manje asesiza ukuthi namanzi ahamba yofikelela futhi emakhaya ngoba esikhathini esiningi lamanzi bephelela nje eimbonini lapho abantu begaya khona ushukela. Manje namanye amakhaya aseduzane nalela dam seyakazi ukuthi akwazi ukuzuza amanzi. Sengikhuluma manje ngama village angaphezulu kwaka 35. Thank you ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Nhleko.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. We welcome the statements that have been made. We welcome the statement in relation to the building and the launching of the Deep Sloot Police Station. And assure Honorable Mulebatsi that we remain committed as a South African Police Service to working together with the South African communities in improving the levels of policing, but also with the full understanding that we can only bring about peace and stability as and when we work together, all of us as South Africans. The point made by Honorable Mbele of the DA, and particularly on the question of the decrease in shootings, I think it's quite a positive statement from Mr. Mbele. We will also do welcome that, and perhaps what that does is that it then attests to the fact that as and when you have a situation where there's collaborative efforts between the police and members of the community on the ground, it improves the level of visibility. And not only that, but also better levels of policing. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That concludes our ministerial responses. I'm going to ask the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Consideration of request for approval by Parliament of draft notice and schedule determining the rate at which salaries are payable to magistrates annually.
I will now call on Honorable Bongo to introduce the report.
Thank you very much, House Chair, honorable members. The Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, having received and considered the request for approval by this Parliament, a draft notice and schedule in terms of Section 12, subsection 3 of the Magistrate Court Act, Act number 90 of 1993, determining the rates at which salaries are payable to magistrates annually. We recommend as the committee to this House that we approve salary increase of magistrates with effect from 1st of April 2011 to this House, and we request that we approve the notice and the schedule as submitted to the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any objections to the approval of the draft notice on schedule determining the rate with effect from the 1st April 2015 at which salaries, allowances, and benefits are payable to magistrates annually? Do we have any objection? No objection, agreed to. I'm going to ask the Secretary to read the second order of the day.
Consideration of request for approval by Parliament of draft notice and schedule determining the rate at which salaries are payable to constitutional court judges and judges annually.
I will call on Honorable Bongo to introduce the report.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Members, the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, I need to say this, that the matter was referred to us on the 25th February 2016. So having considered this request for approval by Parliament, the draft notice and schedule submitted in terms of Section 2, subsection 4 of the Judges' Remunerations and the Conditions of Employment Act, Act number 47 of 2001, determining the rate at which salaries are payable to the Constitutional Court judges and judges of other courts annually. We recommend to the House that with effect from the 1st of April 2015, that in terms of the section that I have mentioned, the House approves the increase of the salaries of judges and approve the notice and the schedule as submitted to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any objections to the approval of the draft notice and schedule determining the rate with effect from 1st April 2015 at which salaries, allowances, and benefits are payable to the constitutional judges and judges annually? Any objections? No objections agreed to. Honorable
Deputy House
Paulsen.
Chair, the EFF would like to do a declaration.
Honorable member, you are allowed.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. In the absence of the respect for the rule of law and for the Constitution by the ANC government, our last hope is the judiciary. We have in many judgments witnessed the judiciary restore faith in the rule of law. As the EFF, we support the proposed salaries of judges and magistrates as approved by the committee. We further call on the committee to seriously look at the constitutional justice budget. More resources must be allocated for judges and magistrates to do their work properly. If we are not careful, deliberate attempts to sabotage the work of the judiciary can be done by providing limited financial resources, and we must never allow this to happen. Honourable Deputy House Chair, without our courts, we have nothing until such time that the EFF is in government. Thank you very much.
NFP?
Thank you very much, House Chair. On the 24th of February, President Zuma announced a 4.4% increase in the salaries of public office bearers, which is 1.6% lower than inflation. This modest increase applies equally to all Constitutional Court justices and judges of the judiciary. The NFP would like to have seen an increase on par with that of the magistrate. For our judges and justices are the final arbiters of justice in our country, and the importance of their work can never be fully compensated in monetary terms. We acknowledge that South Africa is in the grip of economic difficulties and that the austerity measures have to be put in place, and we are in agreement with the intention behind the decision of the President. However, the impartiality and excellence in the judiciary comes at a price. And we are of the opinion that cutting down on wasteful and fruitless expenditure in government departments would have been a far more productive austerity measure than limiting the salary increases of justices and judges. In conclusion, Chair, having voiced our concern, the NFP accepts the rates of remuneration as contained in the schedules and supports the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services report tabled before us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other party wishing to make a declaration? ANC?
Thank you, Chairperson. As a committee, we looked at the issue of disparities of salaries of prosecutors, judges, and magistrates. And we took a resolution that, as a committee, we should meet with Commission of Remuneration of Public Office Bearers to come up with a solution to close the existing gap and improvement of magistrates' working conditions. The lower courts amendment bill will definitely also assist in this regard. Chairperson, ke nyaka go tsebisha gore ke a makala le khono ge ke bona maloko a EFF bao ka komiti mehla le mehla re hwetšang apology ba swanetše go ba emela ke mohlomphegi Morena Malema e fela ba tla fela ge go etla public protector Ha ba ke ba etla le committee.
House Chair, Deputy House Chair.
Honorable Matthias,
The
what are you rising on,
I
Honorable
rise on a
Matthias?
point of order.
Thank you. What is your point
The
of
honourable
order?
member is making a frivolous accusation about our commander.
Honorable member,
The commander-in-chief
honorable member,
assumes an overall responsibility
Honourable member,
over
thank you.
EFF delegation to his parliament.
honorable member, sit down. I think we are not privy to the issues of the committee, so let's not go there. Continue, honorable member.
Thank you, Chairperson. As a committee, a very progressive committee, a very progressive one, yes. We deal with very critical issues. And I would like to thank all those members who always avail themselves in our committee. Thank you so much for being always present, not only when the public protector is coming to the committee. Therefore, as the African National Congress, as we support the independence of the judiciary, as you have seen yesterday, we made a very powerful statement whereby the African National-led, ANC-led government has built a Limpopo Division High Court in promoting access to justice for rural communities. We therefore fully support this motion. Thank you. This report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable members, I will put the question again. Are there any objections? No objections agreed to. I'll ask the secretary to read the third order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Social Development on Children's Amendment Bill.
I will ask the chairperson of Social Development, Portfolio Committee on Social Development to introduce the report.
Sihlalo ohloniphekileyo, indlu ngokubanzi namalungu ohloniphekileyo. Ndiphakama ukuze ndithi thaca kule ndlu yowiso-mthetho. Ingxelo malunga nezihlomelo ezithe zafakelwa ezibizwa ngokuba yi-Children's Amendment Bill B2. Esi sihlomelo besiye saphakanyiswa ngohloniphekileyo umnumzana Waters. Esibeka ke kule ndlu esithi wenzela into okokuba ubani othe wafunyanwa eneziphoso waze wagwetywa ngakubantwana ngokuthi abaphathe gadalala ngandlela zonke makafunyanwe enetyala deemed kunokuba kuthiwe to be found. Lento ke ithi xa kuthiwe uza kufunyanwa kufuneka kuphinde kwenziwe enye inkqubo yokuba mawufunyanwe. Xa kuthiwa sele kubonakele mawuseleke uyekwa usaziwa ukuba ungumoni ongenawusebenza nabantwana. Ithi ke lento ikomiti iqwalasele kakhulu lo mbono yawuphonononga yamcela ohloniphekileyo ukuba aze kuthi thaca eyakhe ingxelo. Emva koko isebe lingenile lachaza into kokuba lo mhlathi awuguqulayo nawuhlomelelayo ngumhlathi ongunumber 120 we-Children's Act of 2005. Noko ke kunjalo isebe lithe lona sele liwuphethe lo mba kodwa yena umnumzana Waters usebenza umhlathi ongu-120. Lo gama isebe lisebenza umhlathi ongu-120 kunye nemihlathi emithathu. Ekuphononongeni lo mba sicele uncedo phaya kwisebe lezobulungisa nophuhliso lomgaqo-siseko ukuba nalo lizobeka umbono yalo ukuba kukhonana ukuchasana kule mithetho. Kuba kaloku ngoku ikomiti phambi kwayo ibinesihlomelo esingu-B12 we-Children's Amendment Bill, iphinde ibe no B13 Executive Bill ebiqhutywa yi-department ekhokelwa ngumama ohloniphekileyo uBathabile Dlamini njengomphathiswa. Emveni koba sixoxile ubuyele kwakhona umnumzana Waters. Saxoxa savumelana into yokokuba akaboni into ichaseneyo ukuba nje elisolontyana yena athi lenze into yokubana inkundla yomgaqo siseko ingagwebi kakuhle kulo 120 xa igweba abantwana yade yazifakela ngokunokwalo lento ithi xa umntwana egwetywa kusithiwa angaze aphinde asebenze nabantwana aze kwakhona afakwe kusomqulu oza kwenza into yokuba kweli lizwe angaze asebenze nabantwana nasebudaleni bakhe makanikwe ithuba lokuzithethelela ke emva kokuba sixoxile savumelana kwingxelo mpikiswano ebipholile nebimnandi uvumile umnumzana Waters ukuba ililungelo layo ikomiti ukuba ingaqhubi nalomthetho kuba elisolontyana liza kulungiswa kwi-executive bill. Kungoko ke ndithi thaxa kule ndlu into ethi isigqibo esithwa thaxa nekucelwa into yokuba sixhaswe yile komiti seso sithi isebe maliqhubeke nale executive bill engu-Children's Amendment Bill B13 ukwenzela into yokuba singakwazi ukuphinde sithi lo mthetho esi sihlomelo besithunyelwe yile ndlu bekuthiwe thaxa kuyo singabe saqhubeka naso ngenxa yezi zizathu sele ndizithe daca phambi kwenu. Ngenhlonipho enkulu ndingalibulela ithuba ndicela ukuba ikomiti ninike inkxaso sibulela namalungu indlela uphethe ngayo lo mba nendlela ahloniphene ngayo xa athethayo. Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi. Honorable Waters?
Chairperson, the DA would like to make a declaration, please.
A
Thank you.
declaration called for, you are allowed.
The EFF wants to make a heavy declaration as well.
Honorable member, once the declaration have been called by a party, you don't have to repeat, you just come here. Continue, honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. The private member's bill submitted by the Honourable Waters of the DA was indicative of a passionate and caring member wanting to protect our children. When the committee voted against the desirability of the private member's bill, it was not on the grounds that the bill was undesirable. The committee found the amendments very desirable. There were two other amendments of the Children's Acts before the portfolio, which were submitted by the department after the private member's bill was tabled. The committee were in agreement that the amendments proposed by the Honourable Waters should be included in the amendments proposed to the Children's Act. However, while we are encouraged by the amendments to the Children's Act and the strengthened protection of children, the Act means nothing if there is a lack of infrastructure on the ground to ensure compliance. The Department of Social Development advised that in order to adhere to the Children's Act, we need a minimum of 60,000 social workers by 2030. At present, there are under 20,000 social workers. Over 2,000 of the 9,000 plus bursaried graduate social workers have still not been employed, despite a contractual obligation of the department. With the increase in crime, gangsterism, drugs, plus the increasing level of unemployment and poverty, one social worker for 3,500 people, particularly in the rural areas, is just not acceptable. How can the department assure adherence to the Act if nothing is being done to meet the requirements? The register of people declared unsuitable to work with children is a shambles. We are flooded with complaints of people who continue to apply and get no response from the register. Accessing information is taking months to the detriment of needy children. There is no coordination between the Justice Departments and Social Development to ensure that the register is current. Every month, NGOs, particularly those dealing with statutory referrals from the courts, are having to close due to late payments, no increase in subsidies for more than 5 years, or because they were a half hour late with their application. These are foster care, domestic abuse, child abuse, and rape cases, to name a few. This has resulted in these organizations handing over the the court files to officers of the department where they are lying on tables collecting dust because there are insufficient qualified social workers to deal with them. The good work on the Children's Act, as well as any other act falling under this department, is wasted until such time as the measures are put in place to ensure that the department is compliant with its own acts. This does not apply and is indicative that the minister does not care for the people and particularly the children of South Africa. I thank you.
Siyabulela. EFF.
The EFF is irritated by the useless political gymnastics between the DA and the ANC. All sane South Africans would support any move to ensure that people who are found to be sexually abusive to children be banned from ever working with children again. The private members' bill by Mr. Walters of the DA sought to amend the Children Act of 2005 to insert these specific provisions, whose end goal is to protect our children from unscrupulous individuals. We now know that the Minister of Social Development has initiated similar amendments to the Act with just minor differences to the DA's amendments. So why is it that they cannot work together for the benefit of the common good? The committee report indicates that it will not go forward with the private members' bill, but will incorporate some unspecified elements of the private members' bill to the amendments initiated by the Minister. Our argument, therefore, is that this committee report is unnecessary, more so in light of the fact that the process started by the Minister is still pending. We are not just subjected to verbal gymnastics, with the ANC wanting to shine on the DA's shine, and the DA wanting to prove that it is clever than the blacks of the ANC, while our children suffer from demented abusers. We reject this report and ask the committee to hasten and finish the amendments as initiated by the Minister.
IFP.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I think I just need to correct the member of the EFF. In fact, all of us work together for the common good, and the EFF was not present. So I'm not sure what you would want to say. This is a bill that will protect the children of South Africa, not party politics. Honourable House Chairperson, with the tabling of this report, we close the chapter on a successful private members' bill. I wish to commend the Honourable Mike Waters for his initiative, his courage and his foresight. We appreciate the efforts he made to point out the aspects of our legislation which did not serve to ensure that the vulnerable children are adequately protected. This is a victory for our most vulnerable citizens and a victory for private members' bills. I feel it also befitting, therefore, to take a moment to honour the late member of this House who fought for and won our right to introduce legislation. Let me quote from a statement the late Honourable IFP MP Dr. Mario Ambrosini said on 9 October 2012 when he said, and I quote, "The Constitutional Court has today handed down its judgment on the challenge of constitutionality which are brought against the rules of Parliament, which prevented a Member of Parliament from introducing a bill in the National Assembly. The Constitutional Court found in my favour. This is not my personal victory, but it is a victory for the South African democracy. The Constitutional Court has held that MPs have the constitutional right and obligation to introduce legislation and can do so without receiving the permission of anyone else. Honourable House Chairperson, this groundbreaking initiative opened the way for the Honourable Waters to introduce a private members' bill to ensure greater protection for the children of our country. His Children's Amendment Bill, Private Members Bill 2/2015, sought inter alia to ensure that an adult convicted of any offence against a child in terms of the Sexual Offences Act or the Criminal Law Act will be deemed to be found unsuitable to work with children. After extensive discussions, the Portfolio Committee on Social Development declared the bill of vital importance. But since there was already a process underway, namely the Children's Amendment Bill, it was resolved that the Private Members Bill would be merged with the processes already underway. We are confident that all the changes the Honourable Waters sought are currently being accommodated in the Executive Bill. His inputs will therefore live on in the first Children's Amendment Bill, which will soon be concluded and brought to this House for finalisation. But let me also align myself with the member of the DA who raised the critical issue of the lack of social workers in our country. We must take note that without social workers, we cannot implement policy and we cannot protect our children. Finally, let this report also serve as a reminder to all of us today in this House that it's our duty, whether we sit on the ruling party's benches or on the opposition benches, to hold the executive to account. It is our duty to ensure that our legislation espouses the values as enshrined in our Constitution.
Thank you.
And it is our duty
Honourable
to
Member.
serve the electorate to the best of our abilities. I
Thank you. Honorable Kubisa, NFP.
Honorable House Chair, honorable members, safeguarding the interests and well-being of our children is the ultimate responsibility of society, which must be prioritized above all else. And Honorable Walter's bill should be viewed in that regard. And I want to commend the member for the passion and for the vision to sponsor a bill of this nature. The bill in the first instance aims at amending the Children's Act 2005 so as to insert certain definitions to provide that a person convicted of social offense or an offense for possession of child pornography be deemed unsuitable to work with children, to afford a child offender an opportunity to make representation as to why a finding of unsuitability to work with children should not be made, amongst other things. We live in times where children are always exposed to risk of attempted murder, assault, rape, and all forms of molestation and pornography. This is done mostly by those who should be protecting them, either relatives, a neighbor, a friend, or a family member, and worst of it all, by their foster parents, guardians, or parents. Most of the legislation on children's rights take cue from the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Children. Taking into consideration the report of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development tabled here today, the NFP is satisfied with the recommendation not to proceed with the Children's Amendment Bill, but we encourage members to come with more private members' bill, as the Honorable Walters has done. The NFP is also satisfied with the undertaking that the content of the private members' bill will be meaningfully incorporated in the executive bill. And on the basis of that, we support the report of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development tabled here today. Thank you.
Thank you. On UDM, Ma'am Majeke.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The United Democratic Movement supports the report. 2 days ago, we moved a motion without notice about a 4-year-old girl child who was brutally raped. The scourge of the abuse of both a boy and girl child must, as we mark the Human Rights Month, gain prominence. Child abuse has become so common, such that newspapers and television's news are so full of reports about child mistreatment, such that you cannot help but wonder how safe is the future of our children and the society at large. Over and above adopting bills, acts, policies, and regulations, members of this House must be daily activists against child abuse and promotion of children's rights. Our starting point should be the adoption and implementation of a consistent civil education program on the rights of children and strategies against their abuse. In this regard, and through our civil education programs, target children, parents, members of community, including purported culprits. We must do more for our girls and boys so that we avoid what was said by Jamie when he said, I quote, "Because I didn't get any help straight away, it was all weighing on me and I didn't know how to deal with it. I was just suppressing it for as long as I could, but then it would come rushing out and I would go over and over it in my head. The anger was just bubbling up and little things would trigger it. I was scared about what I would do when I see the boys. I didn't have anyone to talk to about. My mom was there for me, but I didn't find it easy to talk to her, both because I was struggling to find the right words and I felt ashamed, like it would let it happen to me," close quote. The adoption of this bill, followed by a clear implementable program of action led by us as members of this National Assembly, joined by all other social groups, the purpose and objectives of this bill will then be realized. Indeed, we will be contributing to the building a better tomorrow for our children. Once again, United Democratic Movement supports the bill. I thank you.
Thank you. ANC, Ma'am Kapa.
ANC isele uxhasile ukuba mayivunywe le report. Kodwa ndinamazwi endinqwenela ukuwajongisa phaya kunyana wethu ilungu le-EFF eliye lezawuthetha apha. I-ANC iyazi apho kuyiwa khona, ayinaxhala. Kangangokuba nesantya ehamba ngaso silawulwa kukuba icothe icolise kungabikho nto ishiyekileyo. Lento uthi sidibene kuyinene ukuba i-ANC ayisoloko ifuna impi nalapho ingekho khona. Asikwazi, we choose which battles to fight. We just don't want to fight anything that is not fighting with us. Le bill, le esisihlomelo, siza apha kusithiwa sizohlomela umthetho okhoyo. Yabe isebe liwuqhuba umthetho njenge-executive bill. Yinto endiyicacisileyo leyo. Akukwazi ke ngoku ukuba uthi lo mthetho kungenxa into okokuba besizama imvano. Okwesibini, i-ANC ikhokela ngentlonipho. Ukuba ilungu nokubalela uphina umbutho lililungu leparlament lifungile linethuba lokuba malibizwe lizoxelela ikomiti ezalo imbono. I-ANC ivulelekile ukuba wonke umuntu womzantsi Afrika abeke imbono zakhe kuba naye lilizwe lakhe eli kuphela elikhokelwa yi-African National Congress. Ndiyabulela kakhulu ndaye ndisithi kumama Wilson, Mama Wilson, uzawukhumbula into yokuba ezi zinto uzithethayo zonhlalontle ngokunjalo nawe Nkosazana van der Merwe ziqulethwe phaya kaloku ku-second amendment bill. Yiloo nto ndingakhange ndaphawula ngazo kuba ndingakhawulezi ndikunike inyama yokosa yokupheka ungekosi. Bendikosisa kule just ibhrayi, but inyama, i-main meal is coming with the second amendment bill. Ndiyabulela ke kodwa ngenkqubo eniqhube ngayo, ndiyawabulela amalungu ngokukodwa ukuphathana ngendlela ehloniphayo ilungu nelungu. Asiyondlu yempile, yindlu yokulungisa ukuba abantu abangaphandle bangaboni sibona utshaba omnye komnye, koko babone abantu abachitha ixesha ngokwenza ukuba ulunge, bathethe ngendlela eyenza wamkele nawe njengomuntu okhokeleyo. Ndiyayibulela ikomiti, ndiyayibulela indlu ngokuxhasa le komiti. Umthetho uzawungena kungekudala, amalungu ekomiti ayazi loo nto. Enkosi.
I recognize the Deputy Chief Whip. On
We move. Thanks.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. I will ask the secretary to read the 4th to 7 order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Health on oversight visit to Mpumalanga Province. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Health on oversight visit to Limpopo Province. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Health on oversight visit to Free State Province. And consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Health on oversight visit to Eastern Cape Province.
I will now invite the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health to introduce the report. Honorable Junjwa.
Sihlalo wendlu yowiso-mthetho ohloniphekileyo, amalungu endlu yowiso-mthetho, ongqongqoshe namasakela abo abakhoyo apha, abantu abazosindwendwela abamameleyo nabantu boMzantsi Afrika. Sima apha namhlanje siyikomiti yezempilo, sithi masithi thaca phambi kwenu izindululo nezinto esithe sazifumana xa besithe sandwendwela amaziko ezempilo kumaphondo amane. Kodwa kulamaphondo mane likhona iphondo apho besiye khona siyokukhangela ingxaki zamachiza
xa zazithe chasi lonke eli loMzantsi Afrika iphondo lase-Free State kuthiwa alinawo amachiza ndingalibazisanga mhlali ngaphambili. All the committees, all the provinces that we visited, institutions, they had similar challenges that we observed, which is human resource, which is financial management, which is infrastructure, which is procurement, governance structures, re-engineering of primary health care, emergency services, and mobile clinics. And in all those, we have then recommended that those must be addressed, and the Department of Health must ensure that there is an improvement. And we recommend that the recruitment, there must be a clear policy on recruitment and retaining strategy for professionals in all posts in all these provinces. Provinces must prioritize the infrastructure funding, ensure that all infrastructure development challenges are addressed, to ensure that health facilities conduct proper stock taking and quality assurance to avoid using expired products. You will remember that we have got a problem of expired medicines, not because of anything, but because there's a shortage of staff of ensuring that those are monitored. In all these 3 provinces, we observe that and we recommend that. To ensure that we address the issue of insufficient ambulances and improve response time. Ensure that resources, those are the recommendations, ensure that resources of primary health care programs to improve the rollout and prioritization of warboards and school health services. With the challenges that we have identified, we would like to raise the issue of Free State. When there was a stock out that was in print media, in radio stations, that there are no ARVs in Free State. To our surprise, when we visited Free State, in particular the depot, yes, they have got a shortage of staff. Yes, they have got problems in tracking medicines from point A and up to point B where medicines are to be delivered. But what was very striking was that ARVs were there in the depot, kept under very strict conditions, registers that were there, and it was very surprising that we were told that there are no ARVs in Free State. And it is important, therefore, that we say, as we are then conducting, we conducted that, we did raise that there are areas that they are to improve, and therefore, we made a recommendation that the Department of Health nationally must ensure that when these negatives are being reflected, they quickly respond so that our people are not made to be confused or to panic. In the Eastern Cape, in KwaZakele and Motherwell Health Center. In Motherwell Health Center, which is going to be an ideal clinic, the positive area that we identified was that they have got an ideal emergency services system, which we want all provinces, including Western Cape, that they must go and draw lessons at KwaZakele, at Motherwell Health Center, on how they are managing the time in terms of going, the pickup time and the waiting time for ambulances. So the recommendation, therefore, Honorable Chair, that as we have said, that we don't want to waste the time because issues are similar. We do think that if we do address the issue of infrastructure and governance, it's going to be important that all hospitals and clinics are then attended to. And we want to thank our people for ensuring that they govern the clinics.
Thank you.
We thank you.
I will now recognize the acting chief whip of the majority party.
We move.
The motion is
Chair-
that the
Chair-
report be adopted.
Chairperson, the DA would like to make a declaration, please. Thank you.
Declaration has been called for.
Honourable Chairperson, the DA supports all 4 reports presented to the House today. And while there were some positive findings due largely to our dedicated health professionals who work on the ground against great odds, the visits highlighted some of the incredible weaknesses in our health system, where our system simply is not working. In the Eastern Cape, we found a moratorium on posts despite critical staff shortages. Now, instead of cutting vital jobs, perhaps the ANC-led provincial government in the Eastern Cape should consider cutting wasteful and fruitless expenditure, which cost the public 74 million rand in the last financial year in that province alone. In the Free State, there were serious challenges in medicine supply. Now, it's important for the House to consider the reports of 2 organizations, TAC and Section 27, which are organizations that are trusted by the public, organizations of integrity, who said that, quote, on the 11th of June 2014, the provincial depot was out of at least 11 antiretrovirals, paracetamol, surgical gloves and masks, surgical blades, needles, surgical gauze swabs, viral load and CD4 test kits, and antibiotics. One list found 23 items out of stock and another 182, unquote. Now, when we visited the Free State in June 2015, almost a year later, we found, and this is to quote our own report, system bottlenecks hindering the procurement and supply of medicines. How is it that almost 1 year after the TAC's warnings, we still found that state of affairs? Clearly, this is a failure of leadership. And perhaps the biggest system bottleneck in the Free State is the MEC himself. In Mpumalanga, the committee did not explore challenges related to medical waste. Earlier this year, the Honourable Wilmot James found evidence of gross irregularities in medical waste management in Mpumalanga and several other provinces, and has formally called for an Auditor General report or investigation into this, and we would ask that the committee, in follow-up visits to Mpumalanga, explore this quite carefully. And finally, in Limpopo, it was found that there was a shortage of ambulances and a poor response of emergency care personnel. Now, this unfortunately and tragically is not surprising, because in a parliamentary question that we asked last year, in reply to that parliamentary question, it was revealed that in Limpopo, there are 381 ambulances, of which only 165 are operational. Now, this poor management of vital emergency resources is being paid for at the cost of precious South African lives, and for this, there must be consequences. Thank you.
Stogoze, EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. The economic freedom fighters do not support this report. What is being presented here by the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Health, it's just a cover-up. The reality is that the department is in a state of decay nationwide. We may not have attended this oversight visit where members listened to ANC deployees speaking from air conditioner's office, but without any shadow of doubt, we know the condition of our hospitals because we are always on the ground, we are always in our constituencies speaking to our people. We know this because we are with the people all the time. We know that poor and sick elderly people in deep rural areas of Mtandulu have to wake up in the wee hours of the morning so that they can get attended to in poor resource clinics by poorly trained medical personnel who are stretched beyond limits because the department refuses to deploy medical staff. This report confirmed that we have always known that buildings are dilapidated and water pipes are leaking, roofs are leaking, floor tiles are peeling off, and walls are cracking in all these provinces. In all the provinces visited, the same cry about the insufficient number of nurses, about an inadequate pharmacist and their incapacity to handle the demands for medicines from our people. The reality is that that shortage of stock that the chairperson have just said, it's there. The reality is that there's no medicines. And they stocked because they knew that their ANC deployees are going to be visiting these hospitals. And in all provinces visited, it became clear as crystal that the management of hospitals hospitals are managed by people who are not qualified as medical practitioners, and they lead medical practitioners. These visits have further confirmed our views that over the past 20 years, the ANC has completely neglected the public system. Only those with medical aid can afford proper and quality health care. And that's the reality in South Africa. The poor can't afford proper medical care. The EFF is convinced more than ever before that the only solution to the chronic inefficiencies of our health system is a complete overhaul of the system in its entirety. Health is a constitutional right. Money should never be a mediating factor for quality health care. The government must prioritize the revamping of the public health system as a whole, because we know nothing will happen to address these issues raised. We reject this report. What was presented here by the ANC is just a cover-up of what is happening in the health system. Thank you.
Mhlonishwa IFP Mamkomo.
Thank you very much, Madam. Adequate access to public healthcare services for all South Africans and the myriad of challenges that this encapsulates should not continue to be a problem to the department. The department must start to get the basics right. With the IFP acknowledges the good work by dedicated healthcare workers. The challenges highlighted in these oversight reports are by and large the problems faced by many of our public hospitals throughout the country. Dilapidated infrastructure, not enough equipment, damaged equipment, the lack of consumables such as sanitary agents, not enough staff, poor staff conditions, not enough staff accommodation, not enough patient beds, the supply chain corruption and incompetence, dispensary shortages of basic medicines such as painkillers, the list goes on and on. The purpose of what I would term the hospital, or what we term the Hospital Revitalization Grant, which was outlined by government in 2011, sought to, I would like to state, provide funding to enable provinces to plan, manage, modernize, rationalize, and transform the infrastructure, health technology, monitoring and evaluation of public hospitals in line with national policy objectives, and to transform public hospital management and improve quality of care in line with national policy. 5 years down the line, Speaker, we must now ask ourselves, what actually progress has been made? We see the same, if not steady worsening conditions, and this must raise our gravest concern. For instance, Speaker, I attended a workshop last year in the Free State, which was organized by TEC, where the issue of the ARVs as well as other medicines were not available, where people were expected to go without medicines for weeks. That is unacceptable. The minister must ensure that a full target-based outcome approach audit and analysis is conducted at each and every public hospital. Shortcomings must be identified, and then a step-by-step program of redressing and implementation need to be put in place. Let us all get the basics right, Minister. I thank you.
Raleboga, NFP, Mhlomphegi Imam Shaik Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me start off by congratulating the African National Congress, the Democratic Alliance, and the National Freedom Party for this oversight visit. Because what we gave here is a true account of what we've identified the challenges. Nobody has come here and lied about anything. So I don't know what is the purpose of actually objecting and opposing this report that is being tabled, because it's a true account of what we have found. Honourable Chairperson, the oversight visit dealt with in the reports tabled before us today gives us a small glimpse of the shocking state of healthcare in different provinces.
Uxolo kancane nje
Ithini point kamama?
Angiyabonga. Uyabona uimam, honorable imam. Angizwa kahle. Uminisi uright ngoba enakazi. Wazi ukuthi kuyakenzeka. Akaye eRK Khan. Ayabona, lapha ezikhuzeni kwamempumulo. Ayakhuluma indaba azoncoma into angekho la. Ayikho lento ayishoyo. Dlala ngesikhathi.
Mam Khawula.
Ngoba ne-medical aid.
Mam Khawula. Asizwisise ukuthi kulesikhathi sikiso. Akusisona isikhathi sokuthi udebate. Nibe naye umuntu odebateayo. Sicela ningasakwenzi lokho. Please don't do that. Continue, Honorable Imam.
Thank you, Chair. That is why I think we are trying to introduce the national health insurance to try and give equal quality health care to all the poorest of the poor especially. What becomes evident when looking at the long list of recommendations which accompany each of the reports is that the problem...
Honorable Sheikh, can you take your seat? What are you raising?
Honorable House Chair, I would just like to ask the de facto party agent of the ANC what he implied with that statement.
Honorable, what is it?
Was that he mentioned this is why we want
Are you needing an
healthcare for all people.
explanation?
Yes, I need an explanation.
No.
He must tell us what he was implying.
That's not a point of order.
We want to know what this party agent of the ANC was implying.
Honorable member, please sit down. What is wrong?
Point of order, Chair.
Don't do that, honorable member. You know very well that what a point of order is. Why do you do that? Honorable
Honorable Chairperson.
What are you raising on?
The member here has just called our member a party agent. Can he please withdraw that statement? Because it's
Party
incorrect.
agent?
Yes.
In
of
the
ANC.
House?
Yes.
Honorable Pauls, did you say that?
Honorable Deputy House Chair, we are all party agents, so he's not a party agent in his party, then he's a staff rider.
Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Can you please withdraw?
Okay, he's not a party agent, he's a staff rider in his party. They should remove this one.
Honorable Paulse, please withdraw.
You can't tell us as the party what to do.
Honorable, please
Who is he to tell the NFP what to do with our member?
Sit down. I'm still dealing with Honorable Paulse.
Sit down.
Honorable Paulse, please
Yes.
withdraw.
Okay, I withdraw. He's not
Thank
a party
you.
agent,
Thank
he's
you.
a
Sit down.
volunteer.
Sit down. Continue, Honorable Ishak.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Lalela-ke.
No.
I-party agent, igama elihle kabi i-party agent.
Continue,
Yini engayifuni
Honorable
i-party
Imam.
agent?
Continue.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think the member will do well if he decides to pay his maintenance and support his children, ma'am.
Order, Chair. Order, Chair.
In fact,
Order, Chair.
Continue, Honorable Imam.
In
Order,
fact,
Chair.
our healthcare personnel are achieving
Point of
wonders
order,
if we
Chair.
consider the circumstances under which they work and the paltry remuneration they are getting
I
for their
see
service.
two people standing. What is it on?
I'm standing because,
Are you standing on a point of order? What is
Yes.
your point of order?
Madam Chair, I'm standing on a point of order because you allow an honorable member here who's a party agent, and I'm not going to withdraw.
I'm not going to-
He is a party agent. You are allowing him to continue having made
Honorable Matthias.
such a derogatory statement about our member. So you must compel him to withdraw.
No, honorable member. The mere fact that you still call him a party agent after your party withdrew, I'm not going to consider that. Thank you. Honorable IFNFP, can you? Yes.
Sihlalo ngicela ukuthi angahlali phansi engawithdrawanga akahoxise lokho akushoyo phambi ahlale phansi.
Honorable member, please sit. Honorable members, we are here for business. We're not going to waste the nation's time with petty arguments here. Continue, Honorable Sheikh, and please refrain from calling names.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The National Freedom Party notes with great concern the recommendations relating to staff shortages and staff employment issues in all 4 provinces visited. In the Eastern Cape, the Portfolio Committee recommends that the Department of Health address the issues of staff shortages urgently, as this was identified in all health facilities visited, and prioritize the filling of all critical posts. In the Free State, it is recommended that the provincial department prioritize the issue of infrastructure and staff shortages at Ingomotseng Clinic and at the medical depot. Similar recommendations are made for Limpopo and Mpumalanga. The NFP expressed its wish that the National Department will give serious consideration to this recommendation. Honorable Speaker, when viewed holistically, all recommendations contained in the 4 reports point to ineffective management, and particularly so at to senior management levels. We firmly believe that the Minister of Health should have a far bigger input into the appointment of MECs, as is currently the case. If something goes wrong in health, it is the Minister who is expected to take it. We find it absurd that the Minister should be held accountable for action of people who are appointed without any regard for their competency and knowledge in the field of healthcare. It is our wish that the appointment of MECs and other senior managers in both the national and provincial departments of health should be subject to consultation and approval with the Minister. We believe that through ministerial insight, the best candidates for the job will more readily be identified than what is currently the case. In conclusion, the National Freedom Party accepts the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I put the question. Those in favor of the report? I thought everybody had spoken. I am sorry, ANC. ANC, you can make your declaration.
No, thanks very much, Chair. I'm not sure whether EFF understand what we're dealing with. We are dealing with
House Chair, on order.
What's your point? Honorable Mahlalela, please take your seat. On what point are you raising?
The EFF understand exactly what they are talking about.
What is your point of order?
We are on the ground always with our people.
Honorable
the cover-up
member,
report
that's not
that was
a
presented
point
here
of
is just
order.
a lie from the ANC.
Please sit down. Continue, Honorable.
No, I want to reiterate, Chair, that I don't understand what the EFF is all about. Because we are not dealing with the state of health in the country. We are dealing with a report
Deputy House Chair,
based on the oversight.
Can you
visits.
recognize me?
Honorable Mahlalela, please take your seat. Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable Pulse?
Honorable Deputy House Chair, this is not the ANC caucus where they discuss EFF.
What is
we
your
want
point?
to hear the state of health here. Is he going to be telling us about the state of health in this country?
Honorable member, that's
Because
a
he's
point.
discussing ANC
That's a
caucus
point of
topics here.
debate. It's not a point of order. Don't waste the nation's time. Continue, Honorable Mahlalela.
No, thanks very much. We are dealing with the oversight visits reports. We're not dealing with the state of health in the whole country. The reports that we're dealing with only covers not even 1/3 of the health challenges in the country. And therefore, to use that report, which EFF was not even part of it, they never participated into the whole work, to then come into this house and grandstand and say all the rubbish that you are saying.
Chair. You are talking
Yes, it's
rubbish,
rubbish what we've been talking
You
here.
are talking rubbish.
We have not been
You are
raising any
rubbish.
facts
On
that
order.
are relevant, that requires
Honorable
anyone to take you seriously.
Honorable Mahlalela, please take your seat. Honorable Makaula, please take your seat. Honorable, there is nothing unparliamentary about the word rubbish. So, I want to recognize one of you. There are 3 of you standing. I don't know which one to appoint.
Recognize me, Chair.
Ke a go amogela ntate. Ke kgopela o time mic ela ka mo lapele. Oh, okay. Bole.
Chairperson,
Yeah, Papa.
are you going to allow us to use the word rubbish in future?
Yes, according to the records that we have, as long as
Okay, we are going to
the
call each other rubbish
context,
here.
you don't
That's
say
fine.
somebody is rubbish, but it is in the context of what you are talking about. That's my
Oh, we're
understanding.
going to use rubbish, it's fine.
Not
Thank
a
you.
person, not a member. Not a member, not a person. Yes. But the content of what you are saying. Continue.
Chair, the 4 provinces that were visited, have developed and are moving with speed with the implementation of primary healthcare re-engineering model. They have managed in the NHI pilot sites to create and deploy ward-based primary healthcare outreach teams.
Order,
They've
Chair.
managed to establish
Order, Chair.
district clinical specialist
Chair.
teams. They have
Chair.
integrated school health services
Chair.
that are being expanded. They've
Chair.
managed to
Mahlalela,
contract
Honorable
private health
Mahlalela.
practice.
Please take your seat. Re ka go theeletša, ntate.
Honorable Chair, must we listen to the rubbish of Mr. Mahlalela here?
No. You don't know how to use that. Mr. Mahlalela does not have any rubbish. So that is out of order and unparliamentary. And I'm going to leave it because I think a workshop is needed on this. We will allow the staff to workshop. Continue, I understand, but I will pardon you for now so that we finish. The nation wants to hear what we're doing. Continue, Honorable Mahlalela. Please sit down.
Honorable Deputy House Chair of
Please
the
sit
ANC.
down.
Deputy House Chair of the ANC, you are so partial and biased. He can say we
Honorable Mahlalela, continue.
No, thanks very much.
No.
One of the most
Deputy House
priority
Chair, he's not
areas
gonna
that
continue with
is
this
the
rubbish
availability of
until he
basic
withdraws
medicine. During our oversight visits, all the clinics and hospitals that were visited, medicines were above 75% in all the provinces in terms of stock. There has been challenges that has been listed by all the other members. We agree with those challenges of infrastructure, the challenges of human resource. It's a matter that is receiving special attention. It is in this context, Chair, that we want to take this opportunity to urge this House to adopt this report.
Deputy House Chair.
As the ANC, a people's movement,
Thank you.
a movement
Your time
that
has
cares,
expired.
we are hereby supporting this.
Thank you.
With the greatest respect.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, re fihlile mafelelong a morero wa letšatši. Ntlo, a ra fetše. Ntlo, ke tla e botšiša potšišo. Bao ba sekang report, ba emang le report gore e amogelwe ka mo ntlong. A ba re aeng. Ba ba ganang ga ba re aowa. Okay. Ra leboga ba ba reng eng ba itshwere.
Deputy House Chair.
Re
Deputy House
fihlile
Chair.
mafelelong
Deputy
a
House
morero wa letšatši.
Deputy
Yes,
House Chair.
yes, Honorable Paul.
Register the objection of the EFF to this rubbish.
I don't have any rubbish that was presented. So
This
I'm not-
rubbish report.
No,
This
I'm not
rubbish
going
report.
I'm not going to
This rubbish report.
record what
This
you
is
are
a
saying.
rubbish report.
Morero o fihlile mafelelong, ntlo e ka phatlalala.